Chapter 1133. Very quickly, Thunderlight City and Rakshasa City arrived at the entrance of the Thousand Tree Sect. The entrance was already blocked by densely packed plants. These plants were very tough. Even a level 9 Wuxiang realm martial artist would find it hard to leave a mark on them. The Thousand Tree Sect requires a special entrance method to enter. Otherwise, the plants at the entrance will attack us. After the Thunderlight City Lord finished speaking, he made a few hand seals, and a strange Wuxiang force passed through. Then, the plants at the entrance started retracting their vines, revealing a path. Thunderlight City Lord, you've really put in a lot of effort, Rakshasa City Lord said in surprise. Of course, it took me half a year to find this entry-level incantation. Lei Guang grinned. Although the treasure location was only pieced together a few days ago, Thunderlight had already guessed that the map belonged to the Thousand Tree Sect. Hence, he had already started collecting clues. Since the entrance was open, everyone continued on their way. However, ever since they came down they were extremely alert. After all, with their strength, if it was 1,000 years ago, they might not even be able to beat the outer sect disciples of the Thousand Tree Sect. They followed the entrance and walked straight for a while. Then they arrived at a strange place. In front of them, there were countless tree holes. They were densely packed like a beehive that had been enlarged countless times. Thunderlight City Lord, what is this? Rakshasa City Lord looked at the countless tree holes that were surrounded by countless vines and could not help but ask. This is called the Lost Forest. It's a place that the Thousand Tree Sect uses to defend against foreign invaders. This Lost Forest is crisscrossed. After entering, one's spiritual sense will be greatly reduced. It's extremely easy to get lost in here. Thunderlight explained. Simply put, it's a huge maze. Rakshasa City Lord squinted his eyes. A maze was nothing. They had plenty of time. However, what if there was danger in the Lost Forest? Father, what do we do next? Thunderlight asked. I have no idea. We can only solve it slowly. Thunderlight shook his head. Rakshasa City Lord snorted. Thunderlight City Lord, do you really have no idea or are you pretending? What do you mean by that? Thunderlight said unhappily. Lei Guang, you've specially gathered information about the Thousand Tree Sect. Don't tell me you don't know how to solve this lost forest? Rakshasa City Master narrowed his eyes and asked. Lei Guang retorted. I do have some understanding of the Thousand Tree Sect, but this lost forest can only be solved by the disciples and elders of the Thousand Tree Sect. Even if the people from the Thousand Tree Sect came, they might not leave. Furthermore, the Thousand Tree Sect has been destroyed for thousands of years. Where am I going to find a solution? The City Lord of Luosha City raised an eyebrow when he heard that. Previously, he had suspected that Lei Guang had a route through the Lost Forest. However, after listening to Lei Guang's explanation, he felt that it made sense. The Lost Forest was used to defend against foreign things to prevent outsiders from sneaking into the Thousand Tree Sect. Moreover, the branch sect and the main sect might not be the same. Even if the main sect leader of the Thousand Tree Sect came, he might not leave. If that's the case, let's each send a few people in to investigate. The Rakshasa City's City Lord suggested. All right. Lei Guang immediately agreed. Not only were there no benefits in the Lost Forest, there was also the possibility of danger. Therefore, exploring the Lost Forest was a strenuous and unrewarding task. Therefore, not many people wanted to go. However, to prove Lei Guang's innocence, Lei Long took the initiative and said, Father, I'll go. All right, be careful. Lei Guang nodded. As for the Rakshasa City's side, they also sent a level 9 Wuxiang realm expert in. Lei Guang and Rakshasa were both ethereal realm experts. The two of them could not be sent out. After all, what if someone had evil thoughts and suddenly turned back to kill the others? Therefore, they could only let others explore the path. Lei Long and the Rakshasa City level 9 Wuxiang realm expert randomly found 2 tree holes and entered the Lost Forest. After a while, there was a rumbling sound coming from inside. There is indeed danger inside, but it doesn't seem to be very big, Lei Guang muttered. The sound came and went, which meant that Lei Long was not in danger yet. About half an hour later, Lei Long walked out of the tree hole. Lei Long, how is it? Lei Guang asked. Father, there is indeed danger inside. It's the branches of some tree demons. However, after thousands of years, These tree demons are extremely weak and pose no threat to me. We can all enter, Lei Long reported. When everyone heard that, they heaved a sigh of relief. Although this was a branch of the Thousand Tree sect, it was several times stronger than Thunderlight City and Rakshasa City combined. If it was at its peak, any random tree demon would be stronger than Rakshasa and Lei Guang. Luckily, this Thousand Tree sect had been destroyed for thousands of years. However, this Lei Long was from Thunderlight City, so the Rakshasa City side did not believe it. After more than 10 minutes, the Rakshasa City expert who went to explore returned. City Master, there is danger inside, but it won't be a problem. The level 9 Wanxiang realm expert said. All right. The Rakshasa City's City Master nodded. He turned and said, Lei Guang, since this is the case, why don't we go our separate ways? This way, we won't have to split the things we get. Rakshasa, you mean that if we go our separate ways, whether we get the good stuff will depend on our luck? Lei Guang asked. That's right. Our cooperation ends here. The rest will depend on our own abilities. Rakshasa nodded. All right. Lei Guang agreed. The news that Lei Long brought back made him heave a sigh of relief. He originally thought that he would not be able to pass through this lost forest with his own strength. However, he did not expect that the tree demon's strength would be greatly reduced. As long as they were given some time, they would be able to pass through this lost forest. Anyway, this ruin did not have a time limit. They had plenty of time. Now, it would depend on the efficiency of both parties. Whoever passed through this lost forest first would be able to get the treasures first. At that moment, both parties randomly found 2 tree holes and went in. Previously, they had marked all the tree holes in an attempt to pass through the lost forest. Unfortunately, this lost forest was not so easy to pass through. Yi Xian followed Thunderlight City's team and entered the tree holes to explore. After entering, he did feel that the range of his spiritual awareness had shrunk. However, the range of his eye of perception did not shrink. This meant that he was more powerful than Lei Guang in this lost forest. Let's mix in first. When the time comes, we will find a chance to leave and act on our own. Yi Xian thought in his heart. He had the eye of perception, so his efficiency was faster than Lei Guang's team. As long as he was the first to pass through the lost forest, then the treasures would be his. At that time, he could at least break through to the level 9 Wanxiang realm or even the Nether Passage realm. However, what he did not know was... Chapter 1134. After a while, the third team entered the Thousand Tree sect ruins. There were a total of 6 people in this third team, all of whom were dressed in night clothes. Their strength varied. Some were in the 7th level of the manifestation realm, while others were in the ethereal realm. Big brother, you're here. Luo Sha said to the middle-aged man leading the team. This middle-aged man was the ethereal realm elite in this team. At the same time, he was Luo Sha's twin brother, Luo Sha. Little brother, has the team from Thunder Luster City entered? Luo Sha took off his scarf and asked. Yes. With Big Brother's help this time, the treasures of the Thousand Tree sect will definitely be ours. Not only that, but the entire Thunder Luster City. Luo Sha nodded. This time his luck was pretty good. His brother happened to be passing by Luo Sha City, so he called him along. This time, I even brought a few experts from the underworld. Thunder Luster will definitely die this time. Luo Sha's eyes suddenly revealed a murderous glint. The underworld was an assassin organization that spread all over the world. Luo Sha was one of the assassins in the underworld. With Big Brother's help, there will definitely be no problem. Luo Sha also revealed a confident smile. However, at this time, he suddenly felt that the strength of the person behind Luo Sha was too weak. He asked, Big Brother, why is there another 7th level manifestation realm? Luo Sha's team had a total of 6 people. Excluding Luo Sha, there were 4 9th level manifestation realm elites. However, the last one was only at the 7th level, which made Luo Sha feel very strange. Don't underestimate him. He's the newest assassin in the underworld. He's very strong. Even if he's only at the 7th level of the manifestation realm, he can defeat the 2 9th level manifestation realm elites behind you. Luo Sha smiled slightly. What? Luo Sha was shocked. A 7th level manifestation realm elite could defeat a 9th level manifestation realm elite? Was this a joke? When the 2 consecrators behind Luo Sha heard this, they were extremely displeased. After all, They were being looked down upon. However, the one who said this was the Luo Sha city's mayor's brother, Luo Sha. He was ethereal realm elite, so they could not say anything. However, if Yi Xian was present, he would definitely be shocked. This was because the genius Luo Sha was the target of his revenge mission, Mo Shui. At the same time, Mo Shui did not know that Yi Xian had entered. Although he was a reincarnator, he had no cultivation resources and his cultivation speed was slow. Although his mind was filled with so many cultivation methods and divine abilities, if his realm was not high enough, he would not be able to cultivate them. Since the two sides had met up, the next step was to carry out the cleanup plan. The assassins from Rakshasa City and Underworld Palace joined forces and entered the tree hole in Thunder Luster City. The Lost Forest was crisscrossing, and inside it was a huge maze. Therefore, the other families in Rakshasa City had already split up. Not only that, the Thunder Luster City was also doing the same. The team from Thunder Luster City was completely unaware that they had already been targeted by a group of well-trained killers. At this moment, somewhere in the Lost Forest. Father, this place is really too complicated. My map has overlapped with each other. Lei Long could not help but ask. As for the other three great clans, they had already spread out and were exploring on their own. This way they would be more efficient. If they happened to be able to make it out, it would be their own ability. Yi Xian belonged to the City Lord Manor, and he had been walking in the middle, so he had no chance to leave. However, he had the eye of perception, which would automatically draw a map of the place he scanned. He was very confident that he could make it out of the Lost Forest within an hour. It's too complicated. I have spent so much time, but I still haven't found a way to break the law of the Lost Forest. However, we have plenty of time. Perhaps we can make it out after wandering around a bit more. Lei Guang said. However, this team of theirs had 7 people. Lei Guang, Lei Long, Manager Xia, and Yi Xian, the 4 8th-level manifestation realm martial artists. It was a bit of a waste for 7 people to walk the same path. City Lord, why don't we split up? One of the 8th-level manifestation realm consecrators suggested. That's right. Although the 7 of us moving together is safer, the efficiency is too slow. If Rakshasa City were to make it out first, the items would be in their pockets. Another person agreed. Lei Guang paused and nodded. That's fine. Let's split up into 4 teams. Everyone looked at each other. 7 people, 3 teams. It was possible to split up. Lei Guang was in the Nether Passage realm, so he alone was enough. Lei Long and Manager Xie were in the 9th level of the manifestation realm. If the 2 of them worked together, they might not be able to defeat Rakshasa City, but they could delay them for a while. As for Yi Xian's group of 4, they were all in the 4th level of the manifestation realm. They would be fine as long as they formed a team of 2. Although they might have to bring along a burden, this was exactly what Yi Xian wanted. Don't forget, he still had the eye of control. Little brother Yi, please advise us. A consecrator of the City Lord's estate cupped his fists towards Yi Xian. He had been assigned to be with Yi Xian. Please advise us. Yi Xian also cupped his fists. Then, the City Lord's estate group split up into 4 groups and left. Yi Xian led this consecrator into another tree hole. However, they hadn't walked for long. Eye of control. Yi Xian suddenly turned his head, his eyes flashing. Ding. Control successful. The system notified. This 8th level of the manifestation realm consecrator was caught off guard by Yi Xian. Yi Xian took off his universe ring without another word. Unfortunately, this person naturally wouldn't bring too many things with him when he came out for training. Master, let me lead the way. This 8th level of the manifestation realm consecrator suggested. No need. I won't use you as cannon fodder. Find a fork in the road yourself. I'll move on my own. Yi Xian directly shook his head. This person was still a consecrator of the City Lord's estate. He only controlled this person because he wanted to move on his own. Yes. This consecrator nodded and then left by himself. Then, it was time for Yi Xian to show off his skills. With the eye of perception, he had already recorded the places he walked and scanned. He knew which paths were connected and which paths led to the front. Previously, he had actually sensed other people, but because he was moving with Lei Guang and the others, he couldn't make a move. Now, if he encountered someone else, he wouldn't hold back anymore. However, not long after he moved on his own. What? Someone died? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. He was shocked. He sensed that when he was searching for the entrance to the Thousand Tree Sect ruins, one of the Rakshasa city martial artists he controlled had died. Who killed this person? Was it another family clan in Rakshasa city, the city lord's estate, or someone from Leiguang city? He couldn't figure it out. However, before he came down, he controlled 6th level of the Manifestation Realm martial artists. Now that one was dead. He controlled another one just now, so there were still 6 of them. However, not long after he left, he sensed that another person had died. Chapter 1135. Ever since we entered the Lost Forest, the sounds have been incessant. After all, there are still tree demons blocking the way. Were they killed by humans or stabbed by tree demons? Yi Xian was very puzzled. At this time, a sharp vine suddenly shot towards him. With his eye of perception, he noticed the vines when they were growing wildly. Rip! This vine was easily cut off by Yi Xian. The defense of the tree demons in the Lost Forest would be weaker than the vines on the road, so he could cut them down. However, the vines around the road were very tough. Even the 2 Nether Passage realm experts, Lei Guang and Rakshasa, might not be able to cut them off. Whatever. Let's continue forward. Finding the treasure is the most important thing. Yi Xian did not think too much and continued forward. He did not give orders to the others anyway, so they could not blame him for their deaths. However, he didn't walk for long before he discovered a corpse in another passageway. Out of curiosity, he also rushed over. The dead person was a martial practitioner from Rakshasa city. He was actually stabbed in the heart and died. Yi Xian looked at the corpse with a slightly surprised expression. He felt that the killer was a bit powerful because the dead person was at the 8th level of the manifestation realm. Although the range of the soul was reduced in the Lost Forest, it was not easy to silently kill an 8th level manifestation realm martial practitioner. However, when he thought of the 2 Nether Passage realm experts inside, he did not think much of it. However, at this time, suddenly, a figure stepped into his perception range. This was a 9th level manifestation realm expert, and Yi Xian was sure that he was not from Thunder Brilliant City. Since that was the case, he might as well kill him first and prevent Rakshasa City from turning on him. Since both sides were no longer cooperating, he might as well strike first and gain the upper hand. Immediately, Yi Xian used the map to circle in front of the enemy and then hid in a corner. This 9th level manifestation realm expert was completely unaware of the danger ahead, but he was a well-trained assassin. He would not be careless under any circumstances. He slowly approached while Yi Xian used the eye of perception to monitor his every move. Almost there. Yi Xian closed his eyes and calculated. Right now, Yi Xian was only 100 meters away from this 9th level manifestation realm expert. As long as his opponent turned the corner, Yi Xian would be able to attack. Just as he turned the corner, the sound of something breaking through the air suddenly rang out. Swish! A vine stabbed at him. Humph! It's just a piece of 1,000-year-old wood. Break for me! This 9th level manifestation realm expert swung the long sword in his hand and easily cut it in half. However, just as this sharp vine fell to the ground, a voice rang out. Huff huff! Another piercing sound rang out. But this time, it wasn't the vines that were attacking. Instead, it was Yi Xian who charged out from around the corner. Heartbreaking swordsmanship. Swish! The sword light pierced through the air, catching this martial artist off guard. However, his reaction was still considered fast, and he directly avoided his vital points. The sword light pierced into his chest, but it didn't hit the left side of his chest. However, the heartbreaking sword technique exploded after it entered his body. Although it didn't tear his heart apart, it still severely injured him. This 9th level manifestation realm expert didn't expect to be ambushed. If he hadn't faced his opponent directly, he definitely wouldn't have been able to dodge this attack. By the time he saw clearly, Yi Xian had already fiercely clawed at him. Dragon Capturing Hand. A giant true energy hand directly grabbed this 9th level manifestation realm expert. The enormous grip crushed his bones until they creaked. Die for me! Yi Xian didn't care who his opponent was and punched out again. This move was Xue Tu's signature move, Blood Explosion Fist. Bang! This 9th level manifestation realm expert couldn't break free from the dragon capturing hand's restraints and was directly hit in the head by the punch. His head instantly exploded, and brain matter and flesh flew everywhere. Die! Immediately, Yi Xian swiftly swept over and took off his universe ring. There were quite a few good things inside. Just the soul crystals alone were worth 10 million. Adding the other things, the total value was around 30 million soul crystals. It was a little abnormal for a single person to carry so many things. People who came out for training usually wouldn't bring too many things. They would either give them to their family or hide them for themselves. However, the person in front of him actually brought so many things. Wasn't he afraid of losing them all when he died? Or maybe he didn't have any family and thought that if he lost his life, what was the point of keeping these things? But at this moment, what's going on? There are so many poisons and concealed weapons inside. Is this person an assassin? Yi Xian glanced at the corpse curiously and noticed that the victim was wearing black tights. Moreover, he recalled that the victim's face before his head was blown apart was very unfamiliar. No, this person isn't from Rakshasa City or Thunderlight City. I haven't seen him before. Yi Xian suddenly reacted. Where did a 9th-level manifestation realm expert come from if he wasn't from Rakshasa City or Thunderlight City? When they came down, they had clearly sent people to bury the entrance and even had people guarding outside. Then, could it be that this 9th-level manifestation realm assassin was a passerby and noticed something fishy, so he snuck in? This made sense, but Yi Xian felt that things were not so simple. However, the most important thing now was to leave the Lost Forest first. Otherwise, the good things would be snatched away by others. At that moment, he turned around and continued on his way. The other people's spiritual senses were only left with 1/5 after entering the Lost Forest. It was the same for Yi Xian. However, his eye of perception was 5 times stronger than his spiritual senses. With this outstanding ability, he walked out of the Lost Forest in less than 10 minutes. The Thousand Tree sect is indeed quite capable. If I didn't have the eye of perception and my spiritual sense, I wouldn't be able to walk out even if I walked for a day. Yi Xian shuddered. If he was trapped in that godforsaken place for a whole day, his head would probably explode. No matter what, he was out now. The Lost Forest was the Thousand Tree sect's first checkpoint to defend against foreign invaders. After this checkpoint, there was a sea of vines. This sea of vines was originally filled with countless poisonous insects. The Thousand Tree sect's disciples had to spread some insect repellent on themselves before they could pass through. However, Yi Xian did not have such things on him, so he had to go through it himself. Wei Zhantian, transform into a set of armor. Yi Xian immediately gave the order to Wei Zhantian. In the next moment, Wei Zhantian transformed into a set of gray armor and enveloped Yi Xian completely, including his eyes. Wei Zhantian was a 9th-level manifestation realm expert and an Earth King. His defense was amazing. Even poisonous insects could not break through his defense. Chapter 1136. This Thousand Tree sect branch was not weak, and there were many ethereal opening elites. Although it had been abandoned for thousands of years, Yi Xian did not dare to be careless. He moved at a moderate speed. There might be dangers in this sea of vines. With his level 8 manifestation realm, even with Wei Zhantian, he would fall into an abyss of no return if he was not careful. Luckily, he had positioned himself at the entrance and exit of the Lost Forest. If there was any danger, he would immediately break through the void and leave. The sea of vines was huge, and there was no end in sight. Yi Xian walked for half an hour and was still inside. At this moment, whoosh! A sudden gust of wind made Yi Xian stop in his tracks. He looked in the direction of the wind and saw a huge black shadow. It was densely packed, and there were at least 1,000 of them. What the F***ck? What is this? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. As the distance was very far, he could only use the eye of revelation to see roughly. The shadow was about the size of a fist and was completely black. This group of black shadows approached quickly, and Yi Xian quickly avoided them. However, this group of ghostly things had their eyes on Yi Xian. F***ck, they have their eyes on me. Yi Xian swallowed his saliva. This group of ghostly things was faster than him. Unless he used the Eye of the Void, he would not be able to avoid them. However, it was not easy for him to come here. If he could not even get past this, he might as well just go home. Eye of Glory. Yi Xian immediately took out the golden armor of glory. Under Wei Zhantian's armor, he clenched his fists and waited quietly. When the group of ghostly things approached, he realized that it was actually a group of mosquitoes. A group of mosquitoes the size of a fist. And there were thousands of them. Seeing this, Xian could not help but shudder. This group of mosquitoes had not yet sucked blood and were already the size of a fist. If they did, wouldn't they be bigger than a head? I don't care what you are. Dang. Xian did not say anything and directly attacked this group of mosquitoes. Blood explosion fist. Golden dragon capturing hands. This swarm of mosquitoes flew into Xian's attack range, and Xian's attack swept straight towards them. Bang! Boom! When the blood explosion fist landed on the mosquitoes, it could blow them up, but it could only kill 2 or 3 of them. Due to the large number of giant mosquitoes and their high speed, Xian was immediately surrounded. Fortunately, Wei Zhentian had already transformed into a suit of armor to protect Xian. Clang! 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 These mosquitoes had extremely sharp beaks. A few of them landed on Xian's body and poked him with their beaks, but they were unable to break through Xian's defense. Haha, since you can't break my defense, then all of you can die for me. Xian laughed inwardly. Wei Zhentian was at the 9th level of the manifestation realm. In addition, he had advanced twice, so his defense was indestructible. Although he did not know where this swarm of mosquitoes came from, he estimated that a few of them could suck a person dry. However, if they could not break through his defense, then it was useless no matter how strong they were. There was also an interesting martial art that was specifically used to deal with mosquitoes. Ding! The host has learned the manifestation divine ability, Mosquito Annihilating Palm. Mosquito Annihilating Palm was only a mid-level manifestation realm divine ability, but it was extremely harmful to mosquitoes. It was similar to the dragon's judgment of the 8 Desolation Dragon Slaying Sword. In addition to the Eye of Glory, the power of the Mosquito Annihilating Palm would increase again. These strange mosquitoes were large in size and large in number. Xian could not be bothered to tangle with these mosquitoes, so he directly attacked in a frenzy. Huge golden palms struck out, and each palm could send several giant mosquitoes flying. As long as these mosquitoes were hit by the Mosquito Annihilating Palm, they would all die on the spot. In a short 10 seconds, this swarm of thousands of giant mosquitoes had all died in the sea of vines. In these 10 seconds, Xian had struck out at least 100 palms, which meant that he had continuously used his divine ability over 100 times. Even a 9th-level manifestation realm expert would probably have more than half of their true chi depleted after continuously using a mid-level manifestation realm divine ability 10 times. However, Xian was only at the 8th level of the manifestation realm. It was fine even if he struck out 100 palms continuously, because his recovery speed was just right. Fortunately, the Mosquito Annihilating Palm was only a mid-level manifestation realm divine ability. If it was a high-level manifestation realm divine ability, Xian would probably have to spend more time. Even the Thunderlight City Lord and Rakshasa City Lord would find it difficult to deal with so many giant mosquitoes. If it were anyone else, they would most likely die. Xian could not help but think to himself. However, before he continued forward, he still collected the corpses of the giant mosquitoes. Unfortunately, these giant mosquitoes were not heaven-reaching beasts, but mutated beasts. Devouring them would not bring him much benefit. He began to move forward. Not long after, another large swarm of mosquitoes pounced on him. With the Mosquito Annihilating Palm, Xian easily exterminated the swarm of mosquitoes. What the hell is this place? Why are there so many mosquitoes? There's no human or beast blood to suck. How did they survive? Xian could not figure it out, but he did not think too much about it and continued forward. Soon, in the first hour after he entered the Sea of Vines, he finally saw the end of the Sea of Vines. However, right at this moment, whoosh whoosh whoosh, an unprecedented gust of wind blew and entered Xian's ears. He turned his head to look and saw another swarm of black shadows approaching. However, this time, it seemed to be much larger than the previous 2 times. It was almost a combination of the 2 times. F***CK, there are so many mosquitoes, and there's no benefit. What's the point of killing them? Xian cursed angrily in his heart. Only a fool would do such an arduous and thankless task. However, when this swarm of mosquitoes approached, Xian realized that this swarm of mosquitoes was twice the size of the previous ones. It was not that there were more mosquitoes, but that their bodies were bigger. This time, they might be able to break through Wei Zhentian's defense. Just as Yi Xian was about to break through the void and return to the entrance to rest for a few seconds, he was shocked to find that there was a weirdo in this swarm of giant mosquitoes. It was a green creature mixed in with the swarm of giant mosquitoes. Yi Xian focused his eyes and took a closer look. He found that it was a wood spirit. Wei Zhentian was an earth spirit, a type of exotic beast. There were also fire spirits, water spirits, wood spirits, and so on. At this moment, there was a wood spirit in this swarm of giant mosquitoes. How could a wood spirit control so many giant mosquitoes? Fine, then I'll clean them all up and capture the wood spirit. Although he did not understand why, Yi Xian could not be bothered to care so much. He was confident that he could kill half of these giant mosquitoes before they pounced on him. Mosquito Annihilating Palm. Mosquito Annihilating Palm. Mosquito Killing Palm. Yi Xian attacked crazily, sending out golden palm prints. However, these mosquitoes were larger than before and would not be killed so easily. Perhaps it was because Yi Xian's realm was too low, or perhaps it was because the mosquito killing palm was only an intermediate myriad manifestation superpower, so he could not kill this swarm of giant mosquitoes in one hit. Chapter 1137. You're just a bunch of mosquitoes. Let's see what you're capable of. Yi Xian snorted inwardly. Since one attack wasn't enough, he would try twice. He had 2 hands after all. The swarm of giant mosquitoes was almost as big as a human head. A few mosquitoes approached Yi Xian and poked him with their sharp mouths. Kacha! Kacha! With 2 muffled sounds, Wei Zhentian's armor was destroyed, and so was the brilliant golden armor. The mosquitoes' sharp mouths pierced Yi Xian's body and began to suck his blood. Let's see if you suck faster. My tree of life bloodline is more powerful. Yi Xian didn't mind at all. At the same time, he used his sharp mouths to transfer his true qi and manifestation force. Bam! 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 The giant mosquitoes that were sucking his blood suddenly exploded. With the tree of life bloodline, Yi Xian's speed at producing blood was truly heaven-defying. After all, the reward from the last random mission had allowed him to evolve his tree of life bloodline once. Yi Xian's wounds kept healing, but the giant mosquitoes kept piercing his body and sucking his blood. Therefore, Yi Xian didn't care about anything else. He directly told Wei Zhentian to protect his head with all his might. To be more precise, his eyes. The swarm of giant mosquitoes was smart. The moment Yi Xian removed his defenses, 2 of the giant mosquitoes pierced Yi Xian's heart with their sharp mouths. They thought that this would kill Yi Xian and then suck his blood to their heart's content. But they were wrong, very wrong. Eye of Nirvana. Mosquito Exterminating Palm. Mosquito Exterminating Palm. Yi Xian ignored the giant mosquitoes' attacks and continued to clean them up. At this moment, he was like a perpetual motion machine. He wouldn't die, his true qi wouldn't dry up, and he could continue to fight. The wood spirit in the center of the giant mosquitoes was very surprised. After realizing that things weren't going well, it turned around and left. What a guy! Your balls have been exposed and you still want to run? Yi Xian shouted angrily. From the very beginning, his attention had been on this wood spirit. This wood spirit was really too strange. It could actually control these giant mosquitoes. If he could control this wood spirit, he might be able to control a tiger to devour a wolf and destroy the entire Rakshasa city team. However, this wood spirit was an exotic beast, not a heavenly beast. Yi Xian's eye of control had no effect on it. You mosquitoes! Get out of my way! Yi Xian immediately used his trump card and summoned a long sword. In the blink of an eye, a gigantic golden sword that was dozens of meters long was formed. Tyrannical Emperor's limitless sword. Shake! The gigantic golden sword descended, and the 1,000 mosquitoes in the air were all shaken to the ground by the immense pressure. Not only that, it had even shaken them to death. The tyrannical emperor's limitless sword was much more useful than the mosquito exterminating palm. However, it required a cool-down time of 1 day. Now, Yi Xian was no longer in his way. He looked at the wood spirit in front of him and immediately chased after it. The flying wood spirit turned its head to look and was so scared that it lost its soul. Immediately after, the sea of vines below suddenly changed, and all the vines attacked Yi Xian. Petty tricks! Yi Xian snorted coldly in his heart. He cleverly avoided the attacks of the vines, then rushed toward the wood spirit and grabbed at the air. Dragon Catching Hand. A huge palm easily caught the wood spirit in the palm of its hand. Let's see how you're going to run now. Yi Xian quickly approached and caught the wood spirit. Chirp chirp. The wood spirit slapped Yi Xian's hand, but it couldn't break free. Wei Zhentian, translate for me. This wood spirit was an exotic beast, and so was Wei Zhentian. They should be able to communicate. Wei Zhentian and Yi Xian could communicate in their minds, so naturally they could translate. It said that I stepped into its territory and wanted me to leave immediately. Otherwise it would kill me? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. These were all translated by Wei Zhentian after he communicated with the wood spirit. Good fellow, you're quite arrogant. It's easy for me to kill you now. If you bring me to look for treasures, I can let you go. Yi Xian said. After Wei Zhentian finished translating, the wood spirit chirped a few more times. What? You're saying that there are no more treasures here? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. He wouldn't believe this nonsense. He shouted angrily. If you keep spouting nonsense, do you believe that I'll kill you? Chirp chirp. All right, bring me to take a look. Otherwise I'll kill you. Yi Xian nodded. This wood spirit compromised and was willing to bring him around. It no longer controlled things to attack. Yi Xian held the wood spirit in his hand and left the Sea of Vines. After leaving the Sea of Vines, it was the Thousand Tree Sect's branch. However, this place was already in ruins. Along the way, the wood spirit told Wei Zhentian that there was still a large number of wood spirits here. They were all reared by the Thousand Tree Sect. The disciples of the Thousand Tree Sect would usually sign a contract with the wood spirit to increase the effects of their nature powers on plants. Thousands of years ago, the Thousand Tree Sect left in a hurry. These wood spirits had been staying here for thousands of years. Not only that, this wood spirit also told Yi Xian that it was the king of these wood spirits. Wood spirit king? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. He was slightly surprised. However, after going around in a big circle and using his eye of perception, he really didn't feel anything useful. Other than the tree demons, there weren't even any treasures here. It really didn't look like a treasure ground. However, at this moment, what? You want to make a deal with me? After Wei Zhentian translated, Yi Xian looked at the wood spirit king in his hand in surprise. Just now, this wood spirit king said that it wanted to make a deal with him. Why would you make a deal with me? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. This was out of his expectations. Because I have a strong life aura on me? This time, Yi Xian understood. His body had the bloodline of the sacred tree of life, so his life aura was very strong. The last time, he used his blood to let the mini sky dragon hatch earlier. Then what kind of deal do you want to make? What benefits can I get? Yi Xian asked again. A deal had to satisfy both parties. If this wood spirit king couldn't give him a satisfactory reward, he wouldn't help unless he had a conscience. Help me save the heavenly treasure tree and give me a heavenly treasure tree holy seed? After Wei Zhentian translated, Yi Xian paused for a moment. Heavenly treasure tree was the name of a heavenly treasure tree. The heavenly treasure tree holy seed was naturally the seed. After planting it, he could plant another heavenly treasure tree. This heavenly treasure tree holy seed shouldn't be of any use to me. No, maybe I can devour it. Yi Xian thought about it. Anyway, his blood didn't cost money. Even if he drained it, he wouldn't die. Moreover, the speed of his blood production was shockingly fast. Bring me to take a look first, Yi Xian said to the wood spirit king. Then, under the guidance of the wood spirit king, he kept wandering around the Thousand Tree Sect. Chapter 1138. After a while, the wood spirit king brought Yi Xian to the depths of the Thousand Trees Sect. Here, there was a gigantic tree comparable to a 100-story skyscraper. This gigantic tree was the heavenly treasure tree that the wood spirit king mentioned. At this moment, this heavenly treasure tree was yellow in color, decaying to the extreme. It had a lifeless appearance. Beside the heavenly treasure tree, there were countless green lights flashing. They were all wood spirits. In addition, there were a large number of butterflies, mosquitoes, bees, and other strange creatures circling around it. Now, Yi Xian understood why the wood spirit king was able to control those giant mosquitoes. It was because these creatures all relied on this heavenly treasure tree to survive, and the reason why this heavenly treasure tree could live for 1,000 years was because of these wood spirits. No, it should be said that they coexisted. If the heavenly treasure tree withered, all the wood spirits would die. Okay, I'll help you save this heavenly treasure tree. Without another word, Yi Xian took out some blood vials and threw them at the heavenly treasure tree. Kacha! The blood vials shattered, and Yi Xian's blood, which was full of vitality, splashed onto the heavenly treasure tree and was instantly absorbed. It was unknown if it was because the life force in Yi Xian's blood was too dense, or if it was because the heavenly treasure tree was already on its last breath. But after absorbing the blood from the dozen or so blood bottles, a green light began to emit and quickly spread. Seems like it's not enough. Yi Xian looked up. This heavenly treasure tree was at least 3,000 meters tall. If he wanted to save it, he would have to bleed again today. Because the mini sky dragon took away a large number of blood vials, he cut his hand and started to bleed. The life aura of the heavenly treasure tree also began to strengthen and recover its vitality. Seeing this, the surrounding creatures started to get excited. After a whole hour, Yi Xian finally saved the heavenly treasure tree. At this moment, the heavenly treasure tree had recovered from its withered state to its peak. At the same time, the tree trunk stored a large amount of Yi Xian's blood. It would probably surpass its peak in a short while. The surrounding wood spirits and strange beasts began to celebrate. They had accompanied the heavenly treasure tree for 1,000 years, and now that it had been saved, they were naturally overjoyed. All right, I've saved it. Shouldn't you fulfill your promise? Yi Xian said to the wood spirit king. The latter looked at Yi Xian gratefully and then led the way. After making a big circle, Yi Xian saw a tree hole a kilometer in the sky. Earlier, when he was spraying blood around the heavenly treasure tree, he did not see this tree hole. But now, there was actually another tree hole. In this tree hole, there was a green seed. It was the size of a fist and was emitting a green light. The heavenly treasure tree's saint seed. Previously, with the eye of revelation, he could see that the heavenly treasure tree was on the verge of death, and it would only live for a few months at most. However, he did not see this tree hole, nor did he see any seed. Good Lord, you're giving me a blank check. Yi Xian immediately reacted. This wood spirit king really had a good plan. First, let him save the heavenly treasure tree, then let the heavenly treasure tree form a treasure tree saint seed. If he could not save the heavenly treasure tree, then even if the heavenly treasure tree wanted to, it would not have the ability to form a treasure tree saint seed. Although he was a little unhappy, Yi Xian could not be bothered to care so much. He rushed over and kept the treasure tree saint seed. The 1,000 Tree sect used to rely on this heavenly treasure tree to survive, but they were in a hurry to leave. After all, if they were a step late, they could have been wiped out. In addition, they already had the treasure tree saint seed, so they left the heavenly treasure tree alone. Now that Yi Xian had saved the heavenly treasure tree and received the treasure tree saint seed as a reward, the deal was considered complete. However, just as Yi Xian kept the treasure tree saint seed into the devouring space. Ding! Host has activated the hidden system. Planting system. Ding! Host, do you want to plant the treasure tree saint seed? Suddenly, 2 system notifications rang, making Yi Xian tremble. What's going on? A hidden system? Yi Xian was shocked. He remembered that the only system that he had not activated was the bloodline fusion system. But now, there was a hidden planting system. This was not so simple. What's the use of the planting system? Yi Xian was not in a hurry to answer. He first immersed his mind into the planting system. This planting system was actually a planting space. Inside was a grassland. The size of this planting space would increase as Yi Xian's level increased. Next, Yi Xian could plant heaven and earth treasures in this planting space. When the heaven and earth treasures matured, he could harvest them. Simply put, he would have a moving treasure land in the future. A large number of heaven and earth treasures would be born, and then he could harvest them. These heaven and earth treasures could be used for devouring, alchemy, and so on. However, this was not the most important thing. What attracted Yi Xian's attention was that he could store living things in the planting space. For example, Lualua would not need to stay in the planting space in the future. Haha, good. From now on, I will turn the planting space into a cultivation treasure land. It has more yuan qi of heaven and earth than the outside world. From now on, Lualua can directly cultivate in it. Yi Xian's expression was rippling. However, this planting space had requirements for living things. Humans could not enter, but exotic beasts like Wei Zhentian and the wood spirit could. Yi Xian did not think too much and directly answered in his mind. Yes. Then, He began to plant the heavenly treasure tree saint seed in the center of the planting space. After the heavenly treasure tree saint seed was planted, a small sapling immediately grew. Then, Xian used a blood bottle and used his blood as a water source to water the sapling for a few seconds. This sapling received blood rich with vitality and began to grow rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it grew into a towering tree that was dozens of meters tall. At the same time, after this small heavenly treasure tree grew, Xian also felt that the yuan qi of heaven and earth in the planting space had undergone a tremendous change. Amazing! The yuan qi of heaven and earth in the planting space has surpassed the spirit spring of the Hu Manor. Xian was shocked. He immediately continued to water the sapling with his blood. The heavenly treasure tree continued to grow and soon reached a height of 100 meters. The density of the yuan qi of heaven and earth had greatly surpassed the spirit spring of the Hu Manor. I have the bloodline of the divine tree of life in my body. If I continue to water this heavenly treasure tree with my blood, will it grow into a divine tree of life? Xian suddenly had this idea. Chapter 1139. However, judging from how Fairy Luli had asked for the Fountain of Youth that day, even the supreme-grade Fountain of Youth couldn't compare to his blood. Xian tried using the Fountain of Youth. Sure enough, the effect was much worse than his blood. Although the Fountain of Youth was supreme grade, its main effect was to prolong one's life. Otherwise, why would Fairy Luli use it to exchange for his blood? I can't water it anymore, or it will explode. I have to wait for it to digest. Xian temporarily gave up on nurturing the heavenly treasure tree. With such abundant qi of heaven and earth, and with Xian's current realm, the planting space was the size of 2 or 3 large cities. Such a large space naturally had to be filled to the brim with plants. In the exchange system, one could exchange for many seeds of heaven and earth treasures. These seeds were very cheap. Xian directly exchanged for all kinds of seeds and then scattered them. Some of these heaven and earth treasures improved one's physique, some increased one's cultivation, and some gathered qi of heaven and earth. There were all kinds of things. Under normal circumstances, heaven and earth treasures took at least a month to grow before they could be harvested. Some took a year, even 10 or 100 years. Not to mention a year, Xian couldn't even wait a month. Wood Spirit King, I'll make another deal with you. You can listen. Xian said to the Wood Spirit King. The Wood Spirit King blinked and nodded slightly, indicating that it was willing to listen. I have a place with a heavenly treasure tree. Although it's much smaller than yours, the environment and qi of heaven and earth there are much more abundant. Simply put, I want to take you in. I don't know if you're willing to leave here. Xian said directly. Hearing this, the Wood Spirit King thought carefully for a moment, then let Wei Zhentian translate. Okay, you can go in and take a look first. Xian nodded and directly used a special method to let the Wood Spirit King enter the planting space. If one wanted to enter this kind of planting space, one only needed the owner's consent. But if one wanted to leave, they had to ask for Xian's opinion. Xian stored the Wood Spirit King into the planting space. Then, the Wood Spirit King exploded. The planting space was indeed much better than the Thousand Tree Sect. Even at the peak of the Thousand Tree Sect, the Heaven and Earth Yuan Qi was probably only at this level. If that heavenly treasure tree and the other treasures were nurtured, the Yuan Qi of Heaven and Earth would definitely surpass that of the Thousand Tree Sect. To the wood spirits and other beasts, this was simply heaven. Without another word, the Wood Spirit King immediately agreed to this condition and was willing to move into the planting space. Not only that, but it also suggested to Xian to transfer the heart of the heavenly treasure tree outside to the heavenly treasure tree in the planting space. Once the heart of the heavenly treasure tree was formed, the heavenly treasure tree outside would wither in an instant. However, the heavenly treasure tree in the planting space would quickly grow. Originally, the Wood Spirit King wanted to transplant the Thousand Tree Sect's heavenly treasure tree in. However, this heavenly treasure tree was too big, so they could only use the method of condensing the heart of the treasure tree. When Xian heard this suggestion, he was naturally overjoyed. This would save him a lot of time. After the Wood Spirit King left the planting space, it began to organize all kinds of beasts and enter the planting space. That heavenly treasure tree was already sentient. It directly used its newly recovered vitality to condense the heart of the heavenly treasure tree, which was then brought into the planting space by the Wood Spirit King. When this heart of the heavenly treasure tree merged with the heavenly treasure tree in the planting space, this heavenly treasure tree would grow by 1,000 meters, and the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth would expand once again. As there were only so many planting spaces, the yuan qi of heaven and earth would start to liquefy, forming a stream of water, which was the so-called spirit spring. Ha ha ha, I've profited big time. Yi Xian could not help but laugh out loud. He had profited big time, he had indeed profited big time. If Luo Luo came to this kind of planting space to cultivate, her cultivation speed would definitely be 10 times faster than in Hu village. Not only that, these beasts were now under Yi Xian's control. If there was any danger in the future, Yi Xian could even release these beasts to attack the enemy. Lightning blade mantis, poisonous bee king, 100-flower butterfly, green thread snake, bloodthirsty mosquito, and so on. These beasts all obeyed Yi Xian's orders. Now that Yi Xian was at the 8th stage of the manifestation realm, the surrounding beasts had already gained sentience. Even an ant could probably understand human language. Even if a mouse here was placed in the Blood Rock continent, it would probably be able to proclaim itself as an overlord. All of this was thanks to the yuan qi of heaven and earth. At this moment, this heavenly treasure tree had already withered, and there was not a single living creature around it. They had all been kept into the planting space by Yi Xian. The wood spirits were originally the totems of the Thousand Tree sect, and every disciple had to sign the 7 moons pact with them to increase the effects of the manifestation power on the plants. However, the wood spirits could do it by themselves, so Yi Xian had them help to manage the planting space to increase the production of heaven and earth treasures. Not only that, but Yi Xian had also previously obtained fire spirits, earth spirits, and other beasts. He had also put them all in. Luo Luo, come. Don't cultivate in the Hu family village anymore. Young master will bring you to a better place. Yi Xian said in his heart. Then, he broke through the void and returned to the Hu family village. Young master, what better place? Luo Luo, who was sitting beside the spirit spring, blinked her big eyes and asked in confusion. However, before she could react, she was already kept into the storage space by Yi Xian. At the same time, Yi Xian returned to the Thousand Tree sect ruins and closed the void door. Ah, what kind of treasure land is this? Why is the yuan qi of heaven and earth so abundant? Luo Luo was shocked. This is a new independent space that I, young master, have opened up. From now on you can cultivate by that spirit spring. I have already set up a spirit gathering formation there. Yi Xian immediately pointed the way for Luo Luo. The spirit spring in the planting space was formed by the liquefaction of the yuan qi of heaven and earth. Yi Xian had even set up a high-level spirit gathering formation there to facilitate the gathering of the yuan qi of heaven and earth. Furthermore, he had also stored a large amount of fresh blood at the side. His fresh blood was filled with vitality. If it was left at the side for a long time, it would also have the effect of prolonging one's life. Although the yuan qi in the planting space was about the same as the Thousand Tree sect branch in the past, as long as this new heavenly treasure tree was restored to its peak, then whether it was the yuan qi of heaven and earth or the various beasts, they would all be improved by a level. Yi Xian was finally no longer isolated and without help. From now on, he could summon these beasts to fight for him. Ding! The yuan qi in the planting space has reached the standard. The planting space's level has increased. A system notification sounded. Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. He subconsciously glanced at the interface and realized that the planting space had a level. Chapter 1140. When the level of the planting space increased, the space would also increase greatly. Not only that, it would also increase the growth rate of the treasures, the abundance of yuan qi, and the growth rate of the creatures in the planting space. In any case, there were only advantages and no disadvantages. If the planting space increased to level 3, it would be able to store Tong Tian beasts. In the future it could even store people and let them cultivate in it. All in all, this planting space was very good. Yi Xian could save a lot of things in the future. As long as Yi Xian continued to break through, the planting space would be comparable to a continent, and he would be the master of the continent. Speaking of which, Yi Xian had now subdued all the tribes in the Thousand Tree sect ruins. As long as he wanted to, he could wipe out all the teams in Rakshasa City. Although I didn't get any treasures, I've activated the planting space and a large tribe. Now, even if I meet the city master of Rakshasa City, I won't be afraid. Yi Xian was suddenly full of confidence. In this Thousand Tree sect ruins, although his strength was not the best, no one could threaten him anymore. Hence, he could walk out openly. If anyone dared to have any ideas about him, the consequences would be very serious. However, Just as he re-entered the Tengman Ocean, a black figure slowly walked towards him from afar. Someone's here. Yi Xian trembled. Those who were able to walk out of the lost forest were either lucky or strong. However, Yi Xian had tens of thousands of beasts. Even if everyone in Rakshasa city gathered, they might not be able to kill him. However, when Yi Xian saw the figure's face clearly, his eyes could not help but shoot out murderous intent. Although the person walking towards him was masked, the aura on him was very familiar to him. "Mo Shui, it's you?" Yi Xian exclaimed. How could he have thought that the person in front of him was the target of his revenge mission, Mo Shui? He was not the only one who did not expect it. Even Mo Shui did not expect it. Tisk. TSK. TSK. You were lucky to be saved by that heavenly dragon last time. Let's see how you're going to escape now. Mo Shui said with a cold look in his eyes. Back then, although his chest was pierced by the mini heavenly dragon, fortunately, the mini heavenly dragon was afraid of him and did not kill him. Now that the mini sky dragon had returned to the life-sacred land, who could save Yi Xian? That day when I was at the same level as Mo Shui, I couldn't beat him. But today, I'm a realm higher than him, and I have a large number of strange beasts helping me. As long as he doesn't set up a space ceiling formation, even if I can't beat him, I can still escape. Yi Xian thought to himself. Although he was now one realm higher than Mo Shui was still a reincarnator, so he was only 30% confident. Even with the addition of those exotic beasts, it was only 50%. 50% chance of killing Mo Shui. This was a risk he could take. At this moment, Yi Xian saw Mo Shui's finger lightly shaking. A strand of Zhan Qi condensed into a thread and transmitted to the ground. Not good, this guy is setting up a space ceiling formation. Yi Xian raised his eyebrows and hurriedly attacked. He had a 50% chance of killing Mo Shui, but there was also a 50% chance of losing, so he had to ensure his own safety. Once Mo Shui finished setting up the space ceiling formation, the Eye of the Void would be unusable. You found out? Mo Shui snorted coldly. This time, he was determined to kill Yi Xian. Even if the space ceiling formation was not set up, he was confident that he could beat Yi Xian so badly that he could not even use the Eye of the Void. Eye of Glory. Blood Explosion Fist. Golden Dragon Catcher Hand. Yi Xian went all out and directly used his divine ability. In the current situation, his fists were more useful. Wei Zhentian, who was in the 9th level of the manifestation realm, also took the lead to break through the air and attacked like a war god. Kid, today is the day you die. Mo Shui roared and grabbed at Yi Xian's attack. Azure Dragon Claw. An Azure Dragon Claw and a golden hand collided, creating a shockwave that sent the vines on the ground flying. This move was similar to Yi Xian's Dragon Catcher Hand, but it was of a higher level. It was an upper-level manifestation martial art. Yi Xian, who'd been using the Eye of Insight the entire time, copied this move down. Ding! Azure Dragon Claw copied successfully. However, this was not the end. After this system notification, there was another one. Ding! Azure Dragon Claw and Dragon Catcher Hand can perform a perfect martial art fusion. Do you want to proceed? This system notification shocked Yi Xian. Martial art fusion? He suddenly remembered that there was an advancement path for martial art fusion in his sword god bloodline. However, this martial art fusion was a huge trap, so Yi Xian had forgotten about it. He did not expect that it would be triggered now. Of course, this was not a normal fusion, but a perfect martial art fusion. The success rate was 100%. Fusion. Yi Xian didn't say anything else and directly replied in his mind. After the system deducted some super devour crystals, it prompted again. Ding! Azure Dragon Claw and Dragon Catcher Hand have been fused. The fusion martial art will become Azure Dragon Claw 8 powers. Do you want to learn it? Yes. Ding! Host has learned Azure Dragon Claw 8 powers. System notifications sounded one after another. However, only a moment had passed in the outside world. The shockwave from the collision of Azure Dragon Claw and Dragon Catcher Hand had not yet spread out. However, Yi Xian had now obtained a new martial art, Azure Dragon Claw 8 powers. Moreover, this left Azure Dragon's 8 forces was a nether passage divine ability. Haha, Mo Shui, you're dead meat. Yi Xian suddenly laughed loudly. His left hand formed a claw and swept at Mo Shui. Azure Dragon Claw 8 powers. First move, Dragon in the field. A golden heavenly dragon suddenly appeared and clawed at Mo Shui. Mo Shui raised his eyebrows. He found that this move was not Dragon Catcher Hand. In fact, it was much stronger than Dragon Catcher Hand. However, as an assassin, speed was a very important attribute, so he easily dodged this claw. However, at this moment, Azure Dragon Claw 8 powers. Second move, double dragons playing with a pearl. Another golden sky dragon appeared, but this time, it was 2 sky dragons attacking together. Although Mo Shui had dodged the previous golden sky dragon's attack, it did not disappear. What? Mo Shui was shocked. He found that the second claw was stronger than the first, but he still easily dodged it. Chapter 1141. Zhuaqing Long Claw. Third move, Dragon in the Sky. While Mo Shui was dodging the 2 claws, Xianxia suddenly jumped up and attacked again. The third golden dragon appeared. Zhuaqing Long Claw. Fourth move, Dragon Repents. Zhuaqing Long Claw. Fifth move, Dragon Rages in the Wild. Zhuaqing Long Claw. Sixth move, 6 Dragon Circle. In the blink of an eye, there were 6 golden figures in the sea of vines. Every time Xianxia clawed out, he would be able to condense a golden dragon. Moreover, they would all join forces with the previous few to attack together. Zhuaqing Long's 8 powers stretching claws had already reached the 6th power. Although Mo Shui's speed was fast, he was not as strong as he wanted to be. Zhuaqing Long Claw. 7th move, Divine Dragon swings its tail. The 7th golden dragon appeared. This time, it didn't attack with its claws, but with its tail. Whoosh whoosh. The 7th golden dragon appeared behind Mo Shui. It swung its body, and its golden tail turned into a stream of light and lashed at Mo Shui. At the same time, the other 6 golden dragons attacked together. 7 golden dragons, plus Wei Zhentian and Xianxia's blood explosion fist and disintegration eye attack. Mo Shui was already in a terrible fix. Fortunately, as a reincarnator, Mo Shui had the ethereal passage realm's superpower. The 7 dragons couldn't do anything to him. I can't let him summon more golden dragons, or my true chi won't be enough to kill him. Mo Shui's eyes flickered. He was only at the 7th level of the manifestation realm, and he didn't have the bloodline of the divine tree of life. Using the ethereal passage realm superpower to dodge the attacks had consumed a lot of his true chi. If he used it again, he would be in trouble. Red blood explodes the sky. Mo Shui gathered a large amount of true chi, and his aura skyrocketed. This move again? Xianxia's expression froze, and he quickly retreated. He didn't get close to Mo Shui because he was afraid that Mo Shui would use the same move again. Immediately, he summoned Wei Zhentian back and let him out again, covering the brilliant golden armor with Wei Zhentian. Boom! A blood-red light flashed as an extremely powerful aura rapidly spread out. The resulting shockwave spread in front of Xianxia and sent him flying. Kacha! Even though Wei Zhentian had already reached the peak of the manifestation realm, he still couldn't block this attack. Fortunately, this time, only Wei Zhentian's defense was broken. The glorious golden armor was fine, so naturally, Xianxia was also fine. This explosion was sudden, but it was much weaker than the previous one. After all, Mo Shui only wanted to get rid of the trouble around him. As the shockwave swept out, he madly dashed towards Xianxia. His hand was tightly gripping the glowing silver blade as he prepared to cut off Xianxia's head. He had already witnessed Xianxia's undying ability, but as long as he cut off Xianxia's head, Xianxia's body would no longer be able to move. When the time came, all they had to do was destroy Xianxia's head. However, Xianxia was no longer the same as before. Haha, Mo Shui, do you think it's that simple? Xianxia suddenly laughed loudly. In the next moment, a petite figure appeared behind him. Luo. After this period of cultivation, Luo had already broken through to the 6th level of the manifestation realm. She even said that she would break through to the 9th level of the manifestation realm within 3 days. She didn't appear to participate in the battle, but to improve Xianxia. Eye of Charm. A pink eyeball appeared above Luo's head and directly stared at Xianxia's back. An invisible force supported Xianxia's body, causing his soul's strength to increase greatly. Left Azure Dragon stretches its claws, 8th move of the 8 moves, Leaderless Dragons. Yi Xian finally used his 8th move, which was also his last move. Then, Mo Shui suddenly saw 8 golden heavenly dragons suddenly appear around him and pounce towards him. It turned out that he had wasted his energy just now. Go! Mo Shui continuously used his ethereal passage to dodge the attacks. Then, he used the ultimate move, Crimson Blood Roaring Sky, so he didn't have much true qi in his body. Thus, he chose to retreat this time. However, this time, he wouldn't leave so easily. 10,000 swords returned to origin. Wei Zhentian had unknowingly appeared behind Mo Shui from under the sea of vines. He instantly transformed into thousands of giant swords and smashed towards Mo Shui. Mo Shui's expression darkened. It seemed that he had no choice but to leave this time. Originally, he wanted to play hard to get and let Yi Xian chase after him. Then, he would suddenly attack and kill him. However, Yi Xian wasn't even close to him now. How was he going to kill him? Boom! 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 The giant swords fell one after another. Mo Shui turned into a bolt of black lightning and moved between the giant swords. However, in the end, there were still too many heaven-shaking giant swords. He couldn't escape this calamity, and was locked inside. Haha, let's see where you can run to now. Yi Xian was overjoyed. Last time, he and his subordinates were utterly defeated by Mo Shui, and he almost lost his life. This time, he actually used a ethereal passage divine ability to beat Mo Shui into running away. It seemed that the revenge mission could be completed. After all, this revenge mission to kill Mo Shui had a reward of 3 devour points. Thinking of this, Yi Xian was extremely excited. He immediately turned into a stream of light and rushed over. Luo Luo was already prepared. She threw the 7-colored demonic fire at the spiritual sword formation from afar. Yi Xian also ordered the 8 heavenly dragons to surround Mo Shui. At the same time, he waved his hand. A large group of strange beasts appeared beside him. Then, they split into 2 groups and went around the spiritual sword formation to block Mo Shui's escape route. In the spiritual sword formation, Mo Shui frowned. His right cheek was twitching. As a reincarnator, he was actually defeated by an 8th-level manifestation realm brat. What an insult! He was very regretful now. However, it was not because he did not finish off Yi Xian quickly that day, but because he regretted fighting a ethereal passage realm expert. Damn it! I used a lot of true qi to kill the Thunderlight City Lord. Otherwise, I would have beheaded this brat. Mo Shui cursed in his heart. That's right. Just now, he had killed a Nether Passage realm expert, the Thunderluster City Lord, with his cultivation at the 7th level of the manifestation realm. However, Yi Xian did not know about this, and he did not need to know. Yi Xian only needed to know that Mo Shui was at the end of his strength. He had 100 ways to kill Mo Shui. Brat, you're good today. Mo Shui, will remember this. Mo Shui snorted coldly in the spiritual sword formation. When the voice sounded, there was a huge explosion. It was Luo Luo who detonated the 7-colored demonic fire. However, this move was not able to hurt Mo Shui. Chapter 1142. Not good, it's that move again. Mo Shui can still use it? Yi Xian swallowed his saliva and quickly put Luo Luo into the planting space before retreating. Boom! Another huge explosion broke all of the heaven-shaking giant swords. This time, Mo Shui took a long time to gather his strength, so it was twice as powerful as before. The moment the spiritual sword array collapsed, Mo Shui turned into a streak of blood-red light and rushed towards the lost forest. Tisk, do you think I'm not prepared? Yi Xian snorted in his heart. Earlier, he had already sent out a large number of exotic beasts. Lightning blade mantis, poisonous bee king, 100-flower butterfly, green silk snake, and bloodthirsty mosquitoes were all sent out. There were more than 5,000 of them in total. Even a Nether Passage realm elite would be heavily injured or even killed by such a group of exotic beasts. However, Mo Shui was only stunned for a moment. Brat, Mo Shui, will definitely return today's grudge with both hands. Mo Shui's voice rang out, and his speed suddenly increased by several times. Blood escape. This was a move he used specifically for escaping. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he would not use it. After all, every time he used it, not only would he have to burn his essence blood, but he would also be weakened for a period of time. However, he had no choice but to use it now. Mo Xue's speed increased to the extreme, almost exceeding Yi Xian's reaction time. If Mo Xue attacked at this time, Yi Xian would not be able to block him. Fortunately, after using Blood Escape, Mo Xue could no longer use his qi to attack, so he could only escape. F***ck. A reincarnator is indeed a reincarnator. He has so many tricks up his sleeve. Yi Xian swallowed his saliva. In the blink of an eye, Mo Xue had already avoided the exotic beasts and left his sight. It seemed that this revenge mission had failed again. No, there was still a chance. Humph, you want to leave? Not so easy. Yi Xian directly broke through the void and returned to the Lost Forest's exit. He had positioned himself at both the Lost Forest's exit and the Thousand Tree Sect's entrance. Now he could use it. The current Mo Xue was at the end of his strength, so this was the best chance to kill him. If he let Mo Xue escape, he did not know when he would see him again. However, just as he arrived at the Lost Forest's exit, he sensed two extremely powerful auras. Nether Passage Realm. Is it the Thunder City Lord and Luo City Lord? Was the Luo City Lord of Luo? He was Luo City Lord of Luo City and another masked man. Was the Luo City Lord of Luo? Luo. At this moment, Yi Xian finally reacted. Didn't the 9th level Wanxiang Rel martial artist and Mo Xue he'd killed earlier wear the same attire? Yi Xian's eyes flickered. If the two of them were to join forces, the Thunderlight City Lord would be killed within 10 moves. At that moment, the two of them were standing beside a corpse. Yi Xian took a closer look and realized that the headless corpse belonged to the Thunder City's Luo City Lord. The Thunder City's Luo City Lord was dead? That's not right. The Thunder City's Luo City Lord was killed by Luo and the masked assassin. He would have died long ago. Yi Xian sensed this as the Thunder City's Luo City Lord's corpse was no longer warm. It was obvious that he had not just died. At this moment, Luo and Luo Sha turned and noticed Yi Xian, who had just come out of the void door. Kid, I've seen you before. You're from Thunder City. Luo Sha said to Yi Xian. So what? Yi Xian squinted his eyes and began to mobilize his true qi. How did your city lord die? Luo Sha asked curiously. The Thunder City's Luo City Lord was in the Nether Passage realm. Other than him and Luo Sha, there was actually someone who could cut off his head. Hence, Luo Sha was very shocked. Could there be other elites in the Thousand Tree Sect's ruins? I don't know. Yi Xian shook his head. Now, he could confirm that the Thunder City's Luo Sha and the masked assassin didn't kill the Thunder City's Luo Sha. Perhaps, the one who killed the Thunder City's Luo Sha was Mo Xue. No wonder Mo Xue was chased away by him today. It turned out that he had just fought a battle with a Nether Passage realm elite. If that's the case, then go to hell. When Luo Sha heard this, he immediately raised his hand and prepared to kill Yi Xian instantly. Even a 9th level of the Manifestation Realm could only be killed instantly in front of Luo Sha, let alone Yi Xian, who was at the 8th level of the Manifestation Realm. However, this sword was scattered by Yi Xian's blood explosion fist. Oh! Luo Sha was slightly surprised. An 8th level Manifestation Realm martial artist was actually able to block his attack. This was already very good. If Mo Xue comes later, these two will be a hindrance. I have to deal with them as soon as possible. Yi Xian squinted his eyes. With a wave of his hand, countless mutated beasts appeared. Previously, because the heavenly treasure tree was on the verge of withering, the number of these strange beasts had been greatly reduced. Now that the heavenly treasure tree had recovered, the environment was much better, so it wouldn't be long before these strange beasts multiplied. What the hell is this? Luo Sha and Luo Sha were both shocked. They had just come out of the Lost Forest and found the Thunder City's City Lord's corpse. They had not entered the Sea of Vines yet. Although they did not know how they appeared, they could feel that this group of mutated beasts was not to be trifled with. After all, they lived in the Thousand Tree Sect's ruins. Die, brat! Luo Sha drew his long sword and went forward. His brother Luo Sha also held his sword and was prepared to slaughter this group of mutated beasts. If the two of them worked together, they could deal with all the mutated beasts. However, don't forget that Yi Xian was not just a pretty face. Eye of Glory. Left Azure Dragon stretching 8 forces. At that moment, Yi Xian threw out the sky-quake sword. At the same time, his left hand formed a claw and executed the martial arts that he had just learned. Golden heavenly dragons began to appear and pounced towards the black-clothed assassin Luo Sha. Humph! Insignificant skill. Luo Sha snorted coldly. He was an ethereal realm elite after all. Why would he be afraid of Yi Xian, an 8th-level manifestation realm brat? Moreover, he was an assassin. Yi Xian had just executed the 5th force of the left Azure Dragon, stretching 8 forces when Luo Sha had already arrived in front of him. Die, brat! Luo Sha clenched his fist and stabbed down at Yi Xian's head. He did not know that Yi Xian had the Eye of Eternity, so this attack could not kill Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian did not avoid it. He was prepared to use this opportunity to kill Luo Sha. This move was called loosening the reins to capture. Swish! Chapter 1143. You've been tricked. Yi Xian suddenly smiled, his eyes flashing. Dissection Eye. 2 dissection rays shot out from Yi Xian's eyes and hit Luo Sha's eyes. In an instant, Luo Sha's eyes were dissected, his vision blurred. Ah! Luo Sha didn't expect Yi Xian's eyes to be able to hurt people. He was instantly blinded. Although he could use heaven and earth treasures to repair it, did he have the time? Left Azure Dragon Claws, 6th move of the 8 moves, 6 Dragon Circle. Bam! Luo Sha was sent flying. A large chunk of flesh was torn off his right shoulder, dripping with blood. Kid, I'm going to kill you. Luo Sha roared at the sky. He was in the ethereal opening realm, but he was blinded by Yi Xian and injured his shoulder. His anger soared to the extreme. However, just as he steadied himself, he was surrounded by a black mass of shadows. Lightning Blade Mantis, Poisonous Wasp King, 100-Flower Butterfly, Blue Thread Snake, and Bloodthirsty Mosquito all surrounded him. Although Luo Sha was in the ethereal opening realm, Yi Xian and Wei Zhentian were keeping him busy. Soon, his blood was sucked away. At the same time, the poison entered his body and reduced him to nothing in the blink of an eye. Big brother! Seeing Luo Sha in such a state, Luo Sha immediately roared and ran toward him. You think you can save him? Yi Xian's eyes flashed, and he reached out with his left hand again. Left Azure Dragon Claws, 7th move of the 8 moves, Divine Dragon swings its tail. The 7th Golden Heavenly Dragon materialized and whipped its golden tail at Rakshasa. Get lost! Luo Sha also used a Theurgy, and the 7th Golden Dragon collapsed. However, this 7th Golden Dragon bought Yi Xian some time. Left Azure Dragon Claws, 8th move of the 8 moves, Leaderless Dragons. This time, 2 Golden Celestial Dragons were formed. A total of 8 Golden Celestial Dragons attacked Luo Sha. At this moment, Yi Xian's soul strength was at its peak. After all, it had only been 10 seconds since he defeated Mo Shui. Luolua's Eye of Charm was still in effect. 10,000 Demon Fist, disperse! The Rakshasa roared furiously and threw out a black fist shadow, shattering the 3 golden heavenly dragons. However, he was also surrounded by the remaining 5 golden heavenly dragons. Tear them apart! Yi Xian immediately gave the order to this group of exotic beasts. Plop! A muffled sound rang out. He turned his head to look and found that the masked assassin Luo Sha was already dead. His headless corpse fell into the sea of vines. Blood flowed out and flowed down. It was the lightning blade mantis that had cut off the Azura demon's head. This was a type of mantis that was extremely fast. Although it was not a heaven-reaching beast and could only be considered a type of mutated beast, every single one of them had strength comparable to the 9th level of the manifestation realm. Now one of the 2 great Nether Passage realm experts, Luo Sha, had fallen, and his younger brother Luo Sha was probably not far from death. Big brother! Seeing that his elder brother was dead, Luo Sha was so anxious that his eyes turned red. He looked at Yi Xian and shouted angrily, "Who the hell are you? Does it matter who I am?" Yi Xian replied coldly, then immediately attacked again. Soon, under the pincer attack of him and the exotic beasts, Luo Sha was also defeated. His body was covered in wounds. His blood essence was sucked away, and the poison invaded his body. With Yi Xian and Wei Zhentian holding him back, Luo Sha was reduced to a corpse in the end. 2 Nether Passage realm experts had been exhausted to death. Although we lost 2,000 exotic beasts reproduce very quickly. We should be able to replenish them soon, Xian thought to himself as he narrowed his eyes. If he had to face a Nether Passage realm expert alone, he could fight them with the left Azure Dragon's 8 power stretching claws. However, if he faced 2 Nether Passage realm experts, then he could only use the 10,000 ancestral swords to trap one of them first. Xian swiftly swept over and put away the 2's universe rings. Although the 2 were here to train, there were still many good things in the universe rings, including more than 100 inner demon pills. Unfortunately, the Thunder Luster City's city lord was killed by Mo Shui. The items in his universe ring were probably taken away by Mo Shui. Inner demon pills. Although they can't directly increase the strength of one's soul after refining, they can purify one's soul, improve one's state of mind, and erase inner demons. Xian thought to himself as he swallowed everything. Ding! The host has broken through. The host is currently at the 9th level of the manifestation realm. A system notification sounded, and Xian's aura skyrocketed. He had finally broken through to the 9th level of the manifestation realm. Although I've broken through to the 9th level of the manifestation realm, I haven't reached the peak of the 9th level yet. I wonder if I need a breakthrough item for this breakthrough. Xian thought to himself as he retracted his attention. Now, he had the ability to kill Mo Shui. As long as Mo Shui dared to appear, he would definitely kill him and complete his revenge mission. However, he was very nervous because Mo Shui was a reincarnator after all. He wouldn't be so easy to kill. Just in case, Xian mobilized all the exotic beasts and set up an inescapable net at the entrance of the Lost Forest. Killing Mo Shui and completing the revenge mission would give him 3 Devour points. 3 Devour points could increase his strength by a lot. Mo Shui had to die. However, after waiting for a long time, Xian didn't see Mo Shui's figure. What's going on? Did he predict that I would intercept him on the way? Xian raised his eyebrows as he suddenly thought of this matter. Mo Shui knew that he had the Eye of the Void, so he might not have left through the Lost Forest. Not good. Xian's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly broke through the void and returned. He found that there was a suspicious passage under the sea of vines that Mo Shui had created. Damn it, Mo Shui actually escaped. Xian cursed in his heart. He didn't expect Mo Shui to turn back and leave through the underground. Although the Thousand Tree Sect ruins were protected by a formation, Mo Shui was a reincarnator who had lived for thousands of years in his previous life. How could he be trapped so easily? At this moment, Xian didn't know how long Mo Shui had left, but for the sake of the revenge mission, he naturally had to chase after him. Wei Zhentian. Follow this path and find him. Xian immediately sent out Wei Zhentian. He only hoped that Mo Shui hadn't gone far. Wei Zhentian instantly turned into a drilling machine and expanded the passage. Xian followed behind him. Soon, they left the Thousand Tree Sect ruins and arrived on land. However, there was no trace of Mo Shui. F*CK, I finally managed to catch him, but he actually escaped. I don't know when the next time we meet, and what realm he is in. Xian felt helpless in his heart. Chapter 1144. After pondering on the ground for a moment, Xian returned to the ruins of the Thousand Tree Sect. Although he didn't manage to catch up to Mo Shui, there were still quite a few people in the ruins of the Thousand Tree Sect. As long as he could control them, then Luosha City and Thunderlight City would be his. When he returned to the entrance of the Lost Forest, a person happened to come out of the Lost Forest. This person was the son of Thunderlight City's city lord, Lei Long father. When Lei Long came out of the Lost Forest, he saw Lei Guang's corpse and immediately rushed over. Xian also quickly walked over and said, Lei Long, I know who killed your father. Don't worry, I will avenge your father. Hearing this, Lei Long raised his head and fell for Xian's trick. Ding! Control successful. The system notification sounded. Since Thunderlight City's city lord was dead, Lei Long would be the next city lord. Now that Xian controlled him, it was equivalent to controlling Thunderlight City. Master, you must avenge my father. Lei Long's eyes glistened with tears. All right. Xian nodded and immediately set up a group of mutated beasts outside the Lost Forest. He then broke through the void and returned to the entrance of the Thousand Tree Sect's ruins. Next, he would control all the people in the Thousand Tree Sect's ruins. On Thunderlight City's side, there were 15 people who entered the Thousand Tree Sect's ruins. Among them, there was one ethereal realm expert and 5 ninth-level manifestation realm experts. Rakshasa City was about the same, but now there was an additional team of assassins called Underworld. After more than an hour, Yi Xian controlled most of the 9th-level manifestation realm experts. There were exactly 10 of them. As for the remaining 8th-level manifestation realm experts in Rakshasa City, after seeing Rakshasa's corpse, they all submitted to Yi Xian. This also saved Yi Xian a lot of trouble for the Eye of Control. In the Thousand Tree Sect's ruins, the most precious thing was the dying heavenly treasure tree. There were no other treasures. However, this time, Yi Xian had profited greatly. He brought everyone out of the underground and asked Lei Long to summon the 9th-level manifestation realm double-headed flying dragon. Ding! Control successful. Yi Xian also controlled the double-headed flying dragon and had it carry everyone back to Rakshasa City. There were still many good items in Rakshasa City, and there was still a 9th-level manifestation realm expert left in the city lord's estate. This person naturally wouldn't be able to escape from Yi Xian's evil clutches. Yi Xian plundered the Luosha City's city lord manor and the 4 great clans. He obtained quite a lot of good stuff, including more than 100 heart devil pills. Lei Long, from now on, you are also the city lord of Luosha City. Luosha City is now under your control. Yi Xian said to Lei Long. Yes, master. Lei Long said respectfully. Subsequently, Yi Xian tore through the void and returned to the Lightning Luster City. He also plundered the Lightning Luster City Castellan Mansion and the 3 major families. Then, he reached the peak of the 9th level of the Wanxiang realm. Ding! The host has reached the peak of the manifestation realm. The system prompted. The peak of the manifestation realm was only 1 step away from the ethereal opening realm. At the same time, if Yi Xian wanted to break through to the ethereal opening realm, he would need to prepare 500 heart devil pills. The heart devil pills from before had already been consumed by him. Now, after plundering Rakshasa City and Lightning Luster City, he only managed to gather 250 pills. He only needed 250 heart devil pills to break through to the ethereal opening realm. At that time, Yi Xian's strength would at least increase by 3 times. One day later, Lei Long had settled all the matters and succeeded as the city lord. At the same time, he also appointed a vice-city lord in Rakshasa City, who was also manager Xia. As for the assassins from the underworld, they were all killed by Yi Xian. These people were useless. If there weren't enough seats for the Eye of Control in the future, they would be released. At that time, they could threaten Lightning Luster City and Rakshasa City. At this moment, in the Lightning Luster City Lord Manor. Master, do you know who killed my father? Lei Long couldn't help but ask. Although he was already under Yi Xian's control, Yi Xian did not restrict his thoughts. The murderer is called Mo Shui. He is a reincarnator. In his previous life, he was at least a rebirth realm elite. That day, after he killed your father, he fought with me. However, I was unable to kill him. As Yi Xian spoke, he looked at Lei Guang. Don't worry. If I meet him next time, I will definitely avenge your father. Thank you, master. Lei Long's heart trembled as he hurriedly cupped his fists and thanked him. It wasn't that he doubted Yi Xian's strength, but the murderer's background was too big. A reincarnator. His father's murderer was actually a reincarnator. Then, his father's death was not unjust. The matter of the Thousand Tree Sect's ruins had already ended. Yi Xian also asked Lei Long and manager Xie to issue a warrant for Mo Shui's arrest. However, Yi Xian reckoned that it wouldn't have any effect. Hence, he decided to personally search the surroundings and get some demonic pills. Yi Xian left Thunderlight City and prepared to search for Mo Shui. He couldn't be more familiar with Mo Shui's aura. As long as Mo Shui appeared within his range of perception, he would definitely sense it. At that time, it would be the time of Mo Shui's death. After a day of nurturing by the wood spirit in the planting space, the heavenly treasure tree had grown over 10 meters tall. Furthermore, it was growing at a speed visible to the naked eye every day. Presumably, it would not be long before this heavenly treasure tree would surpass the one in the Thousand Tree Sect ruins. Luo Luo cultivated inside. Her cultivation progressed 1,000 miles in a day. In just one day, she broke through to the 7th level of the Wanxiang realm. Yi Xian reckoned that Luo Luo could break through to the 9th level of the Wanxiang realm within 3 days. Then she could break through to the ethereal opening realm. Furthermore, Luo Luo's cultivation speed would surpass his in the future. Yi Xian began to search around Luoxia City. Occasionally, he would kill some monsters and pick some treasures. Although this might be a waste of time, Mo Shui was currently at the 7th level of the Wanxiang realm, 2 levels lower than him. It was the best time to beat him up. If he found Mo Shui, then Mo Shui would definitely die. For the revenge mission's 3 devour points, even if he had to search for half a month, it would be worth it. However, things didn't go as smoothly as he imagined. After Mo Shui left the Thousand Tree Sect ruins, he disappeared without a trace. No one knew where he was hiding. Yi Xian searched for 2 full days, but to no avail. Sigh, looks like I can't find him. Yi Xian was slightly dejected. In these 2 days, Luo had broken through to the 8th level of the Wanxiang realm. In another 1 or 2 days, she would break through to the 9th level of the Wanxiang realm. Hence, Yi Xian was thinking, should I find Luo breaking through to the 9th level of the Wanxiang realm? Or should I find Luo breaking through to the ethereal opening realm? Forget it. Anyway, the revenge mission doesn't have a time limit. When I become stronger in the future and surpass Mo Shui, I'll search on a large scale. Yi Xian made a decision in his heart. Chapter 1145. These 2 auras were actually Nether Passage experts, and they were no weaker than the Thunderlight City Lord and Luoxia City Lord. What's going on? Why are there 2 more Nether Passage experts in this area? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows in confusion. Originally, there were only 2 Nether Passage realm experts in this area, the Luoxia City Lord and the Thunderlight City Lord. Luoxia's brother, Luoxia, had also come from somewhere else. As for Mo Shui, he had only met Luoxia on his way to Luoxia City. Now, 2 Nether Passage experts had suddenly appeared. This made Yi Xian feel a little incredulous. However, he did not think too much about it. If he caught these 2 Nether Passage experts, he might be able to obtain a heart demon pill. At that time, he would be able to break through to the Nether Passage realm. Very quickly, 2 figures entered Yi Xian's line of sight. Yi Xian focused his eyes and discovered that they were a man and a woman. The man and woman were both around 25 years old. They're so young. It seems that they came from a higher place. Yi Xian's heart trembled. At this time, he suddenly saw that the man and woman were injured. Their faces were pale, and they seemed to be in a hurry. Not only that, but as the 2 approached, Yi Xian also sensed that their realms were most likely not at the 1st level of the Nether Passage realm, but at the 2nd level. These 2 people's auras were weak because they were injured. Help! Someone wants to kill us. After seeing Yi Xian, the woman in white hurriedly shouted. If they were not at the end of their rope, she would not have opened her mouth to ask for help. Asking for my help? Yi Xian silently stood in place, slightly surprised. These 2 people were at the 2nd level of the Nether Passage realm, but they were being pursued. It seemed that the pursuer was stronger than them. No, these 2 people are poisoned. Yi Xian sensed that something was wrong. While he was still in shock, the 2 of them had already approached him. At the same time, he also saw a figure behind the 2 of them. The 2nd level of the Nether Passage realm. The pursuer was a black-robed man at the 2nd level of the Nether Passage realm. I am a disciple of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Ling Xiao. I was poisoned by a traitor behind my back, and was heavily injured. If you have an antidote, I can pay you handsomely. The young man who was being chased hurriedly shouted. He saw that Yi Xian was only at the 9th level of the manifestation realm. Even if they worked together, they wouldn't be able to defeat the pursuer behind them. He was indeed poisoned. Yi Xian pondered for a moment, then took out 2 heavenly treasures from the devouring space and threw them over. This was one of the harvests of the planting space in the past few days. It was an antidote-type heaven and earth treasure that couldn't be bought in this area. Brat, you dare? The black-clothed pursuer shouted angrily. It wasn't easy for him to poison them. If Ling Xiao and the other 2 obtained the clear tea grass, although the poison wouldn't be completely neutralized, it would at least be neutralized by a third. At that time, Ling Xiao and the other 2's battle prowess would increase by 10 to 20%. Ling Xiao's eyes lit up when he saw the 2 stalks of pure white medicinal herbs. He said, "It's the clear tea grass. Thank you, sir." Then, he took out a cloth bag from his universe ring and threw it to Yi Xian. "Sir, here are 100 inner demon pills." "Thank you." Ling Xiao didn't stand on ceremony and directly threw it to Yi Xian. A mere 100 inner demon pills couldn't compare to his life. If he was caught, he would definitely be killed. At that time, what use would it be even if he was rich enough to rival a country? F***CK. 100 inner demon pills? Yi Xian was shocked. It seemed that these two people had a powerful background. They actually gave him 100 inner demon pills in one go. Even if the clear tea grass was very precious, one stalk was only worth 25 inner demon pills at most. Now, the price had doubled. However, this was understandable. After all, this was a critical moment. Brat, you're courting death. The black-clothed pursuer was enraged. He directly launched an attack at Yi Xian. Die, my ass! Yi Xian was also enraged. He directly raised his hand and punched. Blood explosion fist. Bang! The two true chis collided, setting off waves of air that sent smoke and dust spiraling into the air. Ling Xiao and the woman were shocked. They didn't expect Yi Xian, who was only at the 9th level of the manifestation realm, to block the attack of a 2nd-level Nether Passage realm martial artist. It was practically a miracle. Coincidentally, they had already received the clear tea grass. They immediately consumed it and used their true cheese to speed up the refinement and detoxify the poison. Brat, I worked so hard to poison you, and you actually dared to detoxify it. Today, you will definitely die. The black-clothed pursuer was furious. His goal wasn't to kill Ling Xiao and his sister Ling Yun. Now that Yi Xian had given him 2 stalks of clear tea grass, he missed the opportunity. So, he transferred his anger to Yi Xian. Die, my ass! Yi Xian didn't say anything else. After a burst of light shot out from his eyes, he raised his hand and clawed. Eye of Glory. Left Azure Dragon stretching claws, first move of the 8 powers, seeing dragon in the field. Left Azure Dragon stretches its claws, second move of the 8 moves, twin dragons play with a pearl. Left Azure Dragon stretches its claws, third move of the 8 moves, soaring dragon in the sky. Golden dragons bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they pounced at the black-clothed pursuer. By the time the black-clothed pursuer approached, Yi Xian had already condensed 5 golden heavenly dragons. So it's the Nether Passage divine art. You have some skills, but you still have to die. The black-clothed pursuer clenched his fist and stabbed fiercely. Whoosh! A sword ray pierced through the air, directly piercing through one of the golden dragons and striking Yi Xian's shoulder. However, Yi Xian didn't care at all, because his wound would quickly heal. Left Azure Dragon stretches its claws, 6th move of the 8 moves, 6 dragon circle. Yi Xian continued to attack. At this moment, he only needed 50 inner demon pills to break through to the Nether Passage realm. This black-clothed pursuer was at the 2nd level of the Nether Passage realm. As long as he killed him, it should be enough. Brat, you actually dodged the previous attack by luck. This time, I'll definitely pierce through your head. The black-clothed pursuer roared and stabbed again with his sword. Not good. Ling Zhao's expression changed drastically. Yi Xian was their savior. If he died here, they would be guilty. Moreover, he saw that Yi Xian's strength was impressive, and he even knew the Nether Passage divine art. If they joined forces, they might be able to kill this black-clothed pursuer. Sister, join forces and kill. Ling Xiao cut to the chase. He clenched his fists and turned to attack. Yes. Hearing this, Ling Yun also turned around without another word. Whoosh! Bang! Ling Xiao defeated the black-clothed pursuer's attack with one punch and saved Yi Xian. How dare you turn around and come back? You're walking into a trap. The black-clothed pursuer's aura surged as he charged forward. Now it was 3 against 1. Although Yi Xian was at the 9th level of the manifestation realm, his true combat strength wasn't any weaker than the black-clothed pursuer's. Coupled with Ling Xiao and Ling Yun, this black-clothed pursuer would definitely die. Left Azure Dragon claws 8 powers, 7th move, Divine Dragon swings its tail. Chapter 1146. Humph, you're so annoying. I'll kill you first. The black-clothed pursuer was the most annoying person. He used his superpower to dodge the attack and then rushed toward Yi Xian. Do you think I'm easy to bully? Yi Xian was very displeased. He clenched his right hand into a fist and his left hand into a claw. Blood explosion fist. Left Azure Dragon claws, 8th move, leaderless dragons. In an instant, the 7 golden heavenly dragons from before disappeared without a trace. On the other hand, 8 golden heavenly dragons suddenly condensed in front of Xianxia, one more than before. Even if the previous 7 were destroyed, they could be formed again after the 8th move was used. The 8 golden heavenly dragons covered the sky and charged toward the black-clothed pursuer. At the same time, Ling Xiao and Ling Yun, who were injured, were holding the pursuer back. The black-clothed pursuer was in a dilemma. In the end, he decided to retreat first. "Bastard, how dare you disturb me and cause my mission to fail? I'll remember you," the black-clothed pursuer roared in his heart. However, when he was about to turn around and leave, a shadow suddenly appeared from the ground and directly entered his thigh. Swish! A muffled sound was heard. It was a long sword that pierced through the black-clothed pursuer's thigh. What? The black-clothed pursuer was shocked. He did not know where the long sword came from. It actually came from the ground. Who was it? Just as he was surprised. Swish! 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 The long sword suddenly changed. Countless spikes grew and pierced the black-clothed pursuer's thigh into a beehive. With his thigh heavily injured, the black-clothed pursuer's speed was greatly reduced. Immediately, the 8 golden heavenly dragons caught up with him. "What the hell is this? Get lost!" The black-clothed pursuer's face was gloomy. He immediately used the All Creation's force to break all of Wei Zhentian's spikes and pull them out. However, just as he was about to break Wei Zhentian into pieces, Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd. A Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd was formed in Ling Xiao's right hand. He then threw it at the black-clothed pursuer. Swish! The Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd pierced through the air. What? The black-clothed pursuer's face darkened. He had actually witnessed the Heavenly Thunder Hall's ultimate move, the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd. This time he was dead for sure. He wanted to dodge, but the Heavenly Thunder Combat Halberd was too fast. It pierced through his chest in the blink of an eye. At the same time, the Heavenly Thunder condensed from the genuine Qi and the All Creation's force instantly turned his chest into charcoal, along with his heart. Zizi! The black-clothed pursuer was killed in one strike. His body was electrocuted by the Heavenly Thunder Combat Halberd and then fell to the ground. Xianxia, who was not far away, was astonished. This move seemed a little overpowered. Fortunately, he had activated the Eye of Revelation. Otherwise, he would have missed it. Ding! The Heavenly Thunder Halberd has been successfully copied. Do you want to learn it? The system prompted. Yes. Xianxia didn't say anything else and immediately replied. What a joke. The Heavenly Thunder Halberd was a mid-level ethereal channeling divine ability. It was 1 level higher than Zhuo Qinglong's 8 claws reaching out. How could he not learn such an ultimate move? At this moment, Xianxia finally reacted. When Ling Xiao announced his identity, he said that he was a disciple of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. The Heavenly Thunder Hall was a force that was 10 times stronger than the Thunder Luster City and Rakshasa City. It was comparable to the Thousand Tree Sect 1,000 years ago. This Ling Xiao actually knew the Heavenly Thunder Hall's top-level divine ability. It seemed that his position was not low. With the black-clothed pursuer dead, Ling Xiao and Ling Yun heaved a sigh of relief. Thank you for your help. May I know your name? Ling Xiao hurriedly cupped his fists. Xianxia, it was nothing. Xianxia replied. Then, he hurriedly rushed over and took the yin and yang ring of the black-clothed pursuer. Although there were not many things in the yin and yang ring of the black-clothed pursuer, there were still 50 inner demon pills. After secretly keeping most of the things, he threw the yin and yang ring to Ling Xiao. This person is an assassin from the underworld. Why did he want to kill you? Xianxia asked curiously. The divine ability that the black-clothed pursuer used was not much different from that of Rakshasa's brother, Rakshasa. That was why he guessed that the black-clothed pursuer was from the underworld. Of course, the only thing that could confirm his identity was the token in the yin and yang ring of the black-clothed pursuer. The underworld's assassins are all over the world. The two of us must have offended someone before, so we were given a mission. Ling Xiao answered after thinking for a moment. However, he lied. He felt that the black-clothed pursuer did not want to kill them. Instead, he wanted to capture them. Moreover, they did not offend anyone, so no one knew who they were. The reason why he lied was because he had only met Xianxia once. It was better not to expose his identity. I heard you say that you are a disciple of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. However, I heard that only core disciples can learn the Heavenly Thunder Halberd in the Heavenly Thunder Hall, right? Yi Xian asked again. That's right. The two of us are from the Heavenly Thunder Hall's Ling family. Ling Xiao nodded. Then, he threw the yin and yang ring to Yi Xian, saying, this time, it was all thanks to Brother Ye's help. Otherwise, the two of us would have been caught very quickly. This yin and yang ring should be yours. There were not many things in the yin and yang ring, because they had all been taken away by Yi Xian. However, for a 9th level manifestation realm martial practitioner, it was still a considerable amount of income. Then many thanks. Farewell. Yi Xian cupped his fists towards the two, then prepared to turn and leave. He had already gathered enough inner demon pills. He wanted to immediately find a quiet place to break through to the ethereal opening realm. Although he could immediately break through and control these two core disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, the Heavenly Thunder Hall was not weak. If these two people had some sort of communication method, then he would become a rat crossing the street. Thus, he decided to give up and not make an enemy out of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Brother Yi, please wait. Ling Xiao and Ling Yun glanced at each other and shouted. What? Yi Xian swiveled his head in puzzlement. Having yet to break through to the ethereal opening realm, Brother Yi is already able to battle experts at the 2nd level of the ethereal opening realm. Therefore, I, Ling Xiao, represent the Heavenly Thunder Hall to invite Brother Yi to join us. Ling Xiao said solemnly. Invite me to join? Yi Xian was rather taken aback as he asked, if I join, what benefits would I be able to obtain? With Brother Ye's talent, as long as you break through to the ethereal opening realm, you will be able to become a core disciple of our Heavenly Thunder Hall and enjoy the benefits. Also, you will have the qualifications to compete for a spot to enter the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds. Ling Xiao answered. What is the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds? Yi Xian asked once more. Core disciples and whatnot were not really important. Those benefits were not even comparable to what he could obtain from roaming the outside world. Still, this Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds seemed to have some background. Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds. Yi Xian had also encountered this name on the Bloodrock continent. It was Thunder Island in the chaotic astral sea, where the legacy of the Wind Thunder Emperor was. Chapter 1147. Brother Yi, you don't know? Raising his thick brows, Ling Xiao explained. The Forbidden Heavenly Thunder Grounds is a great treasure ground of our Heavenly Thunder Hall. The Heavenly Thunder there can temper the body and soul, each strike of Heavenly Thunder equivalent to quite a few inner demon pills. The more one withstands, the greater the degree of tempering. You also know that as long as one's soul is strong, one's future cultivation will also be faster. It is precisely for the Forbidden Heavenly Thunder Grounds that we siblings have returned to the Heavenly Thunder Hall, preparing to break through to the 3rd level of the Nether Passage stage. Withstanding the strikes of Heavenly Thunder, then tempering the body and soul? Yi Xian's eyes narrowed, suddenly becoming interested. His method of breaking through was different from others, but it was still effective in tempering the body and soul. The strength of his soul far surpassed that of the average 9th level of the manifestation stage, probably being comparable to 1st level Nether Passage experts. If it was tempered in the Forbidden Heavenly Thunder Grounds, it might even be able to rise to the 2nd level of the manifestation stage. Not bad. Good, I'll join. Yi Xian immediately nodded. He had also joined the City Lord Manor of Thunderlight City earlier. It was not like he needed money anyway. If he grew up in the future, he could just leave straight away. Hearing Yi Xian's reply, Ling Xiao and Ling Yun exchanged glances, smiling. This time, not only had they averted danger, they had even managed to recruit a young genius. They had really profited. While the two siblings were about the same age as Yi Xian, also 2 levels higher than Yi Xian, when they had been at the 9th level of the manifestation stage, they had not even been able to beat a 1st level Nether Passage expert, let alone an elite 2nd level Nether Passage expert. If Yi Xian broke through to their level, he would definitely be many times stronger than them. Welcome. We are a family from now onwards. Ling Xiao grinned, saying, let's go back to the Heavenly Thunder Hall. The trial of the Forbidden Heavenly Thunder Grounds is about to begin. Yi Xian nodded before following them. He was thinking that after becoming a core disciple, he would be able to learn the Heavenly Thunder Halberd. At that time, he would be able to use it legitimately. However, the journey back to the Heavenly Thunder Hall this time was not peaceful. Yi Xian, the poison within our bodies has yet to be completely purged. Therefore, we wish to find a place to first dispel the poison before returning to the Heavenly Thunder Hall. On the way, Ling Xiao told Yi Xian, "All right, I'll protect you." Yi Xian nodded. The three of them immediately found a mountain and set up an aura-isolating array formation to conceal themselves. Then, the two siblings began to detoxify the poison. As for Yi Xian, he could take advantage of this opportunity to break through. Ding! Host has consumed 500 inner demon pills. Ding! The host has broken through to the first level of the Nether Passage realm. 2 system notifications rang out as Yi Xian's aura skyrocketed. Breaking through from the manifestation realm to the Nether Passage realm didn't increase his physical body by much, but the strength of his soul had doubled. Yi Xian estimated that his current combat strength was 3 times that of before. Even if Ling Xiao and Ling Yun joined forces, they would not be his match. Now that Mo Shui was in hiding, he could make use of the Heavenly Thunder Hall's influence to place a bounty on Mo Shui. This was another reason why he had gone to the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Half a day later, Ling Xiao and Ling Yun exited seclusion. The poison in their bodies also cleansed. This was all thanks to Yi Xian. If not for the 2 stalks of clear tea grass that Yi Xian had given them, they would not have been able to detoxify the poison, and might even have been captured by those black-clothed pursuers. When Ling Xiao exited the cave, he felt that something was wrong as he could not help but let out a puzzled sound. Nether Passage Realm? Ling Yun also felt it as she cried out in shock. In just half a day, Yi Xian had actually broken through from the manifestation realm to the Nether Passage realm. He was indeed a genius. "I reached the peak of the manifestation realm half a day ago," Yi Xian explained. "So that's how it is." "It looks like Yi Xian getting a slot is a sure thing," Ling Xiao smiled. He and Ling Yun were members of the Heavenly Thunder Hall's Ling family. Thus, they did not need to compete for a slot as they could directly enter the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land to be tempered by the Heavenly Thunder. Meanwhile, Yi Xian was an outsider. Thus, he had to be tested together with the other outsiders. Now that the Ling siblings had successfully detoxified the poison and Yi Xian had broken through as well, they could continue on their way. With their speed, they should be able to reach the Heavenly Thunder Hall in around 2 days. However, just as they were about to move. Wait! Yi Xian suddenly sensed something as he hurriedly called out to the 2 of them. "What is it?" Ling Yun blinked rather strangely. "There are 2 experts at the 2nd level of the Nether Passage realm approaching." Yi Xian replied. "What?" The Ling siblings were very shocked. They were both at the 2nd level of the Nether Passage realm while Yi Xian had only just broken through. If they had not discovered it, how had Yi Xian discovered it? However, what they did not know was that the range of Yi Xian's eye of perception was 3 times greater than that of his spiritual sense. Very quickly, the Ling siblings sensed it as well. Clap, clap, clap. Hurried footsteps resounded in front of them as 2 figures entered the vision of Yi Xian's trio. The newcomers were both men dressed in black. Assassins from the underworld again. Ling Xiao frowned as he muttered to himself. However, his expression was extremely relaxed. Previously, he had been chased and beaten up because he had been poisoned. Now that the poison had been cured and his wounds had healed, how could he be afraid of them? Assassins were skilled in concealment and tracking. They had chased after Yi Xian's trio based on their footsteps. However, Ling Xiao still could not understand why someone would pay for his life. "It's you assassins again. Who exactly is it that is going against my Heavenly Thunder Hall?" Ling Xiao could not help but ask. "We're not very sure about that either. Since you've encountered me, please allow yourself to be captured. Otherwise, don't blame us for being merciless," said the long-haired man of the 2 assassins. "Your mission is to capture us, not kill us?" Ling Xiao narrowed his eyes as he asked again. "So what if it is?" The thin man snorted coldly. "When did the underworld have a mission to capture people? How strange." Ling Yun could not help but mutter to herself. The underworld had always issued missions to kill people. Now, however, there was actually a mission to capture people. This was really rare. Could it be that the employer wanted to personally take action? "You don't have to worry about this. Anyway, your mission rewards are so high that we are tempted," said the long-haired man coldly as he gripped the long sword in his hand tightly. There were actually 2 types of assassins. One was to wait for an opportunity to assassinate, while the other was to directly take action. These two were obviously the second type. These two did not think much of the first level of the nether passage stage Yi Xian. After all, they could easily kill an existence like Yi Xian. They focused their attention on Ling Xiao and Ling Yun. These siblings could be considered first-rate geniuses in the Heavenly Thunder Hall. They could not afford to be careless in the slightest. Chapter 1148. Since you want to die, I'll grant you your wish. Ling Xiao roared furiously, charging over barehanded. Meanwhile, Ling Yun brandished a sword, following closely behind Ling Xiao. As for Yi Xian, since he had already joined the Heavenly Thunder Hall, he naturally had to help. As his cultivation base was lower than Ling Xiao's group, he stealthily moved to the side, causing them to think that he was trying to escape. The two assassins did not pay much attention to him as they directly fought one-on-one with Ling Xiao and Ling Yun. Eye of Glory. Left Azure Dragon stretching 8 stances. Now, Yi Xian suddenly attacked. Numerous golden heavenly dragons appeared, lunging towards the long-haired man currently battling Ling Yun. What? The long-haired man was shocked as he turned to discover several golden heavenly dragons attacking him. Only now did he realize that he had underestimated Yi Xian. Brat, you're a hindrance. Die. The long-haired man stabbed out with his sword, a cold black streak of light piercing through the air, piercing through the golden heavenly dragons before shooting towards Yi Xian. Watch out! Ling Yun hurriedly roared, but it was still too late. Yi Xian's shoulder was pierced through once more, but it healed at a visible rate the next moment. You dare injure me? Die! Yi Xian could not even be bothered to evade now as he roared, finding his 7th golden heavenly dragon. Left Azure Dragon stretching 8 stances. 7th stance, Divine Dragon swings its tail. A massive golden dragon tail whipped towards the long-haired man viciously. The long-haired man's expression darkened as he evaded the attack with his movement technique. However, the next moment, he saw Ling Yun condense a heavenly thunder battle halberd. Not good. The long-haired man's expression changed drastically as he hurriedly retreated. The power of this heavenly thunder battle halberd was not something he could withstand. However, Ling Yun did not throw the heavenly thunder battle halberd in her hand, instead stabbing it into the ground viciously. ZZ! Heavenly thunder shot towards the long-haired man like a slithering snake. Unable to evade in time, his right leg was struck, instantly turning into charcoal. His right leg was crippled. Die! Yi Xian made use of this opportunity to hurriedly execute the final stance of the left Azure Dragon stretching 8 stances, leaderless dragons. The 8 golden heavenly dragons all pounced toward the long-haired man. Rip! 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 The long-haired man was surrounded. Then, he was torn apart by the 8 golden heavenly dragons and died. Not good, let's go. On the other side, the thin and weak man who was fighting Ling Xiao immediately turned around and ran when he saw his companion die. It's too late to run now. Ling Xiao used his genuine qi and all creation's strength to form a heavenly thunder halberd. He threw it at the thin man's back. Swish! The heavenly thunder halberd pierced through the air. The thin man turned his head and quickly dodged the heavenly thunder battle halberd. However, when the heavenly thunder battle halberd brushed past the thin man's body, heavenly thunder explosion! Ling Xiao formed a hand seal, and in the next moment, the heavenly thunder combat halberd exploded. Lightning flashed, and with a boom, the thin man was electrocuted into a charred corpse. In the distance, Yi Xian could not help but gulp. So the heavenly thunder combat halberd can be used like this. I've learned a lot. He thought to himself. At the same time, he also secretly memorized these 2 uses. The heavenly thunder combat halberd was a mid-level ethereal opening mystic ability. To Ling Xiao and Ling Yun, who were both at the 2nd level of the ethereal opening realm, it was extremely taxing. Even at their peak, they could only use it twice. As for Yi Xian, using it once would probably deplete his genuine qi. Therefore, he could only use it as a trump card. He could not use it like the left Azure Dragon's 8 stances. Ling Xiao and Ling Yun quickly walked over and took off the 2 assassins' yin and yang rings. Brother, look at this. Ling Yun took out 2 portraits of them from the yin and yang ring. At the same time, the 2 assassins' mission books were also in the yin and yang ring. Capture the Heavenly Thunder Hall's core disciples, Ling Xiao and Ling Yun. They must survive. Those who complete the mission will be rewarded with 20,000 inner demon pills? After Ling Xiao read it out loud, His body shook violently. 20,000 inner demon pills. This was really a huge reward. 20,000 inner demon pills could already create a few third-level manifestation realm experts. They were only 2 second-level manifestation realm experts. Why was there such a high price? Who exactly wants to capture us? Ling Yun asked, very confused. With such a high price, I'm afraid even third-level nether passage experts would be moved, or even fourth-level nether passage experts. We must return as soon as possible and have father send people to investigate. Ling Xiao said with a gloomy expression. They still could not understand what kind of person they had provoked. However, the most urgent matter at hand was to avoid these underworld assassins and return to the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Yi Xian did not think too much about it. He only felt that the one who issued the mission should be someone Ling Xiao had once provoked, or an enemy of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Since Ling Xiao and Ling Yun's mission reward was so high, it might attract third-level nether passage experts. At that time, he would also be able to get a share of it. However, they had no way of dealing with fourth-level nether passage experts. Thus, they could only pray that they did not encounter them. After distributing the rewards, Yi Xian's trio hurried on their way once more. Now they dared not run wildly on the ground, instead flying high up in the air. This way, they could avoid quite a few assassins. The following journey was out of their expectations. Who knew if it was because of their good luck, or if the assassins had all run off to search elsewhere, but the journey was calm and peaceful. No one came looking for them again, and they successfully returned to the Heavenly Thunder Hall. The Heavenly Thunder Hall was a massive, solemn and dignified palace, with countless experts within. Before Yi Xian had even approached, he could already feel several powerful auras, at least third level of the manifestation stage, or even fourth level. Ling Xiao and Ling Yun directly brought Yi Xian into the Heavenly Thunder Hall, explaining some matters of the Heavenly Thunder Hall to Yi Xian as they did so. The Heavenly Thunder Hall was dominated by the Ling family, with all the previous Hall Lords also being members of the Ling family. However, due to their 1,000 years of heritage, the Ling family had quite a few members. Just the nether passage experts of the Ling family numbered in the thousands. Amongst them, the most powerful of the younger generation was called Ling Su. She was a girl, a year older than Ling Xiao, but had already broken through to the fourth level of the nether passage stage, being the #1 female genius in the history of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Of course, it was only after undergoing the tempering of the Heavenly Thunder of the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land that she had achieved this. It was said that after leaving, she had broken through from the second level of the nether passage stage all the way to the fourth level of the nether passage stage in a short amount of time. The optimal age for entering the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land was 25. Ling Xiao and Ling Yun just so happened to be 25, while Yi Xian just so happened to be 25 as well. This time, Ling Xiao had brought Yi Xian to look for his father, Ling Xiong, to have Yi Xian become a core disciple of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, and then participate in the competition for a spot in the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land. Ling Xiao's father, Ling Xiong, was an elder of the Heavenly Thunder Hall at the fourth level of the Nether Passage stage. Chapter 1149. Oh Xiao, Yun, you've returned. The Black Chaotic Corner is quite a distance away from here. I had thought that you wouldn't be able to make it to the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds this time. Ling Xiong was currently handling some documents as he said curiously upon seeing Ling Xiao and Ling Yun. Greetings, father. Ling Xiao and Ling Yun greeted in unison. This is... At this time, Ling Xiong's gaze fell on Yi Xian behind Ling Xiao. Father, on our way back from the Black Chaotic Corner, we were ambushed by assassins of the underworld. Fortunately, Yi Xian came to our aid, otherwise we siblings might very well have been captured. Ling Xiao began to narrate the events of the past. The assassins of the underworld only capture people, and not kill them? Ling Xiao's body shook as he abruptly stood up. I find it very strange as well. We siblings have not offended anyone. Why would they target us? Ling Xiao asked curiously. All right, I will send people to investigate this matter. Ling Xiong nodded before continuing. With little brother Yi Xian's talent, he is indeed qualified to enter my Heavenly Thunder Hall as a core disciple. However, there are quite a few powerful disciples in this time slot competition, and there are only 10 slots. Wanting to obtain one won't be so easy. Ling Xiao understood Ling Xiong's meaning. The latter had underestimated Yi Xian a little. He hurriedly explained, Father, Yi Xian's strength is probably not below mine. Hearing this, Ling Xiong was rather surprised, not daring to believe it. Yi Xian was only at the first level of the Nether Passage stage, while there were 3,000 core disciples in the Heavenly Thunder Hall. This meant that they were all at the first level of the Nether Passage stage. However, the number of core disciples who could challenge those at a higher level was probably less than 100. If that is the case, we can fight for it. Little brother Yi, come with me. Saying this, Ling Xiong brought Yi Xian along as well. As the latter had saved Ling Xiao, he easily entered the Heavenly Thunder Hall, becoming a core disciple. Very quickly, Yi Xian successfully entered the Heavenly Thunder Hall, becoming a core disciple. After that, Ling Xiong brought Yi Xian to the registration point for the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Lands entry battle that would be held 3 days later. Yi Xian glanced at the name list. This time, the Ling clan's disciples didn't need to compete for the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Lands spots and could directly enter. However, those subordinate powers of the Heavenly Thunder Hall as well as the other disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Hall would have to undergo a trial before being able to obtain a slot. There were only 10 spots for this year's competition, and the people who participated in the competition for the spots added up to more than 100 people. These hundreds of people were all around 25 years old and were at least in the Nether Passage realm. It was even said that some of them had already reached the 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm. With my current strength, it shouldn't be a problem for me to get a slot, Yi Xian thought to himself. He was not worried about his own slot, instead wondering if he should let Luo Luo join the Heavenly Thunder Hall as well. Within 3 days, Luo Luo would also be able to break through into the ethereal opening stage. It had to be known that she was a 15-year-old ethereal opening stage martial artist, being even more formidable than that legendary figure in the history of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. In the history of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, the person who had broken through into the ethereal opening stage at the age of 18 had been the #1 genius. Forget it. Luo Luo is cultivating in the planting space, so there's no need for her to join. When I enter the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land, I'll summon her out as well, Yi Xian planned in his heart. Luolua's talent was really too heaven-defying. Having reached the ethereal opening stage at the age of 15, she could even attempt to break through into the fulfillment realm in the future. The reason why Yi Xian had dismissed this idea was because that #1 genius in the history of the Heavenly Thunder Hall had been strangled in the cradle by someone. After registering, Ling Xiao arranged a place for Yi Xian to stay before bringing Yi Xian to stroll around the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Ling Xiao, do I have the qualifications to learn the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd now? Yi Xian suddenly asked. Hearing his words, Ling Xiao nodded. You do. All core disciples can learn our Heavenly Thunder Hall's supreme technique, the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd. All of them? Yi Xian raised his brows. He had heard that the Heavenly Thunder Hall had a total of 3,000 core disciples and 100,000 ordinary disciples. With 3,000 people able to learn the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd, was the Heavenly Thunder Hall not afraid that the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd would spread? Still, very quickly, he knew that the mid-grade ethereal opening ability, the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd, could not be spread. Because the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd was a heaven-connecting artifact. That ability could only be learnt through comprehending the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd. Gazing at that Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd before him as well as the 100 Heavenly Thunder Hall disciples surrounding it, Yi Xian suddenly recalled the Dao Heart Devil Seed technique. Wasn't the Dao Heart Devil Seed technique also learned through comprehending the statue of the Devil God? Yi Xian, that is the weapon used by our Heavenly Thunder Hall's founder, our Ling family's ancestor, the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd. Ling Xiao introduced. This Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd is a little damaged, Yi Xian unconsciously said. That's right. When the founder obtained this Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd, it was already damaged. The founder said that if it could be repaired, the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd could become a 3rd-grade heaven-connecting artifact. It was with this that the founder created the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd. Ling Xiao nodded. While the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd was only a mid-grade ethereal opening ability, it was extremely close to a high-grade ethereal opening ability. Even if a first-level ethereal opening martial practitioner learnt it, some might not even be able to use it. Yi Xian, you go and try it out first. There are still 3 days before the entry battle anyway. Even if you can't comprehend it, if you grasp a sliver of the power of Heavenly Thunder, it would still be helpful to your strength. My brother and I had to learn for a whole 3 months before we learned the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd, before going to Black Chaotic Corner for tempering. Ling Yun smiled as she said from the side. All right, I'll give it a try then. Yi Xian nodded. Actually, he did not need to learn the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd, because he had already copied it down and learnt it. Now, he was just putting on an act here. This way, he could legitimately use the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd. Afterwards, Ling Xiao and Ling Yun left, leaving Yi Xian to comprehend it alone here. Yi Xian extended his senses, discovering that there were still third-level ethereal opening experts here. These should be Heavenly Thunder Hall disciples with higher cultivation bases, but lower comprehension abilities. At the same time, a white-haired old man was seated in the meditative position in a corner of this palace. This white-haired old man was the guardian of the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd, possessing incomparable strength. Yi Xian sat here, carefully comprehending it for 3 days. In these 3 days, Luo Luo successfully broke through to the ethereal opening stage. At the same time, the heavenly connecting treasure tree within the planting space had also grown by several hundred meters, the chi of heaven and earth having more than doubled. At the same time, many natural treasures had been born within the planting space, all of which had been devoured by Yi Xian, increasing his cultivation base. However, today was the day of the entry battle for the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds, so Yi Xian had to leave. Chapter 1150. Yi Xian, you've come at the right time. The competition for the slots is about to begin. When Yi Xian left the Halberd Palace, Ling Xiao just so happened to be walking towards him. I'm already prepared. Yi Xian nodded. There were only 3 people at the 3rd level of the Nether Passage stage, while there were 10 slots. Thus, his chances were very high. These 3 days, I've been investigating for you. Of the 3 participants at the 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm, one is Su Liang from the Su family, one is Gu Han from the Gu family, and the last is Zhao Chong from the Blackwater Lightning Wyrm. I feel that only these 3 would be a threat to you, said Ling Xiao. Profound Water Thunder Wyrm? Yi Xian raised his brows, saying, What is that? Demon race? That's right. My Heavenly Thunder Hall also has a demon race force under its command. They want to use the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land before transforming into dragons, nodded Ling Xiao. The demon race did not only exist in the eastern continent of the Blood Rock continent. There were quite a few of them in the sacred grounds as well. Profound Water Thunder Wyrm. Using the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land to transform into dragons? Yi Xian was slightly surprised as he asked. The lifespan of this demon race is longer than that of humans, and they can participate together with humans? The demon race is indeed older than us. 100 years of this Profound Water Thunder Wyrm clan is only equivalent to 25 years of our human age. However, they are indeed a problem for us. With their long lifespans, they might threaten our Heavenly Thunder Hall in the future. Ling Xiao could not help but sigh emotionally. Brother. Ling Yun hurriedly reminded him in a small voice. Oh, I forgot. Ling Xiao's neck shrunk as he unconsciously scanned the surroundings. What he meant earlier was to expel the Profound Water Thunder Wyrm clan from the Heavenly Thunder Hall, lest they become the masters of the Heavenly Thunder Hall in the future. Fortunately, no one had heard it, apart from Yi Xian. Let's go, let's go. The competition for the slots is about to begin. Saying thus, Ling Xiao brought Yi Xian towards the Heavenly Thunder Hall's assessment arena. The competition for the 10 spots in the Forbidden Land of Heavenly Thunder was about to begin. There were more than 100 participants, all of whom were at least in the ethereal opening realm. There were a total of 50 people at the 1st level of Nether Passage realm like Yi Xian. Some of them weren't here for a spot, but to find an opponent to battle and increase their strength. Yi Xian naturally did not care about these people. Of course, he didn't care about the rest of the 2nd level Nether Passage realm martial artists. No matter how strong they were, they couldn't possibly be stronger than him, right? However, he only hoped that he wouldn't run into those 3 geniuses at the 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm. This wasn't because he was afraid, but because he didn't want to use his trump card. Very quickly, Ling Xiao brought Yi Xian to the assessment arena. Thousands upon thousands of people had already gathered here, with some of them being disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Hall as well as those subordinate powers of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. When Ling Xiao's father, Ling Xiong, saw Yi Xian, he also said, Yi Xian, you're number 7, number 15. This time, there were a total of 150 people participating in the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Lands entry competition. It was just right, so they were divided into 10 groups, each group having 15 people. Still, they still had to be tested before entering battle. The strength of both their physique and soul had to reach the required level. Otherwise, If they entered the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land and were unable to withstand even a single bolt of heavenly thunder, that would have been a waste of their entry slot, possibly even being struck to death by a single bolt of heavenly thunder. Wanting to enter the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land, one's physique and soul must reach the level of 6 stars. Only then can one advance to the next round. Ling Xiao explained from the side, "My sister and I have already been tested. Both of us are at 8 stars, while my sister's physique is a bit weaker, only at 7.5 stars. So that's how it is. I wonder what mine is." Yi Xian was rather curious. The strength of his soul far surpassed that of most first-level Nether Passage realm martial artists, perhaps even comparable to second-level Nether Passage realm martial artists. As for his physique, due to its uniqueness, having devoured so many heavenly treasures, it was also extremely powerful. While he had yet to test it, he estimated that it should be about the same as Ling Xiao's. Of course, the main reason why he was able to challenge those above his level was because of those bloodlines. At this time, a team entered the test arena, and it attracted everyone's attention. Is this the Profound Water Thunder WYRM clan that joined our Heavenly Thunder Hall a few years ago? They look so powerful. Profound Water Thunder WYRMs are of the demon race. Any random one of them would be older than our grandfather. Them also participating. This is a little unfair. Also, Profound Water Thunder WYRMs are resistant to thunder in the first place. Compared to us, they can withstand even more heavenly thunder, their degree of refinement being higher than ours. The Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land feels like it was formed specifically for them. I heard that this time, the Profound Water Thunder WYRM clan used a large amount of heavenly treasures to produce a genius called Jiao Chong. I wonder if he will be able to successfully transform into a dragon under the bombardment of heavenly thunder. After this team entered, the surrounding Heavenly Thunder Hall disciples also began whispering amongst themselves. The Profound Water Thunder WYRM was the strongest of all the subordinate powers of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, only inferior to the Ling family. The reason they had joined the Heavenly Thunder Hall was also because of the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land. That's Jiao Chong. Ling Yun suddenly pointed over stealthily. At the center of this team of Profound Water Thunder WYRMs was a fair-faced young man. This person looked extremely young, but his true age was already over 100 years old. Third level of the Nether Passage realm. If he reverts to his original form, his battle prowess will be even greater. Yi Xian also thought to himself. The demon race here was different from the demon race of the Bloodrock continent. They were not cursed, so there would not be any harm in reverting to their original form, being able to revert to their original form as they wished. Yi Xian estimated that this Jiao Chong's strength was ranked first amongst all the competitors. Even he would find it very hard to defeat him, unless he joined forces with Luo Luo. Within this team, there were also 4 Profound Water Thunder WYRM youths, all at the second level of the Nether Passage realm. Their battle prowess was probably also amongst the best. This time, the Profound Water Thunder WYRM actually has 5 youths participating. If nothing unexpected happens, they will obtain 5 spots. In a certain corner of the test arena, a middle-aged man said with a frown. 5 is too many. Give them 3 spots. The white-haired old man beside him stroked his beard as he said. Father, you mean? The middle-aged man suddenly turned his head. The Su family's Su Liang and the Gu family's Gu Han are both already at the 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm. Arrange them together with the 2 from the Jiao family. The white-haired old man continued. Father, this will incur the displeasure of the Jiao family, the middle-aged man reminded. This Profound Water Thunder WYRM clan is too domineering. In a few more decades, they might catch up to our Ling family. We must suppress them. Even if they guess it, so what? Since they are subordinate to our Heavenly Thunder Hall, we will make the decisions. The white-haired old man said with a resolute and decisive look. Yes, then I will go now. Not daring to disobey, the middle-aged man hurriedly left. Chapter 1151. A middle-aged elder of the Heavenly Thunder Hall leapt onto that massive ring at the center before taking out a massive stone tablet from his spatial ring, saying, "The physique trial begins. Team 1, all of you, come up onto the ring." Next, 15 people leapt up from below, one of them being a youth from the Profound Water Thunder WYRM. You are not allowed to use true chi or the power of all manifestations to attack the stone tablet. Number 1, begin the trial, said the middle-aged elder. Number 1 of Team 1's luck was not bad. being able to obtain first place. However, this did not mean that his results were also first. This was a muscular man, a disciple of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. His skin was dark, his entire body looking muscular and powerful. He roared loudly, sprinting madly towards the stone tablet before viciously punching out with a fist. Pang! A muffled sound rang out as this person's fist entered the stone tablet. Exactly 3 inches, 6 stars. The middle-aged elder swept his gaze over before recording the results. 3 inches was 10 centimeters. Every nether passage expert had the power to split mountains and split the earth. Even without using true chi or the power of all manifestations, they could still blast through a mountain with the force of their fists. However, this stone tablet was not simple at all. It was cold steel, a material used to forge grade 2 heavenly connection artifacts. Being able to leave a 3-inch fist mark on it, this muscular man could already be considered an elite amongst the first level of the nether passage stage. Next was number 2 of Team 1's trial. 9 inches, not qualified. The middle-aged elder shook his head. 3 inches was the standard for 6 stars. While 9 inches was a little short, they would not bend the rules as they could only wait for the next trial. Number 2 of Team 1 shook his head helplessly, silently blaming himself for being too lax earlier. If he had bitterly cultivated for a bit, he would definitely have been able to pass. As the trial continued, the surrounding people also watched rather impatiently. They wanted to see the strength of that Jiao family expert. Very quickly, it was finally that profound water thunder Wyrm youth's turn. It's finally his turn. While he's only at the second level of the nether passage stage, unable to compare to Jiao Chong, he should at least be able to reach 8 stars, right? I remember that in the history of our Heavenly Thunder Hall, the most monstrous genius had punched 9 stars at the second level of the nether passage stage. The surrounding Heavenly Thunder Hall disciples began discussing softly. Not just that, even Yi Xian opened his eyes wide. He wanted to see just how powerful this profound water thunder Wyrm was. Number 10. Begin the test. The middle-aged elder was also curious. Yes. The young man called Jiao Heng nodded. Soon after, he gathered all the strength in his body and punched forward. Bang! His fist sank into the frost steel. 4 inches, 8 stars. The middle-aged elder's eyes lit up as he announced. Hua! The crowd burst into an uproar. What shocked them was not the 8 stars, but that Jiao Heng was currently in human form. If he could use the Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon, his punch would be at least 8.5 stars or even 9 stars, right? The Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon was indeed powerful. The Darkwater Lightning Flood Dragon clan is indeed a hidden danger. Many elders of the Heavenly Thunder Hall thought to themselves. Having only joined the Heavenly Thunder Hall for a few short years, the profound Water Thunder Wyrm clan had already become the number 1 clan below the Ling family. They had no choice but to guard against them. Jiao Heng was extremely pleased with himself after obtaining an 8-star evaluation. He raised his nose and looked around before walking off the stage. Very soon, the results of the first group were all recorded. Those who had reached 6 stars were qualified to participate in the second round of the test. Yi Xian did not pay much attention to the following tests as he just glanced over slightly. Those at the second level of the nether passage stage were all able to obtain 7 stars at the very least. The stronger ones could even achieve 7.5 stars or even 8 stars, though not a single one managed to do so. Finally, it was time for the third group. That's the Gu family's Gu Han. He has already broken through to the third level of the nether passage stage. I wonder how many stars he can obtain. At least 8.5 stars, or 9 stars. Anyway, it'll be fine as long as it's not lower than the Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon. The disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Hall quietly discussed amongst themselves again. While the number 1 genius in the history of the Heavenly Thunder Hall had achieved 9 stars at the second level of the nether passage stage, he had only been 20 at the time. The most suitable age for entering the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land was 25. This monster had naturally not entered, only having come to test it out. Sadly, not long after the test had ended, he had suffered a vicious blow in the midst of training, thus falling. That Gu Han walked before the frost steel, then punched out viciously. 4 inches and 7 stars, 9 stars. The middle-aged elder nodded satisfactorily, announcing, "Impressive indeed. Just a little bit more and he would have been able to reach 9.5 stars. What a pity. This is only a physique test. It's also not like there are any rewards. Who knows? Gu Han might still have been holding back. That's true. Gu Han completed his test, then walked off the ring. Below, Yi Xian narrowed his eyes as he looked at the screen, discovering that Gu Han had been holding back just now. Otherwise, 9.5 stars would have been no problem at all. The test continued. In the fourth group, there was also a disciple of the Black Water Thunder Flood Dragon clan. Also at the second level of the Nether Passage stage, he had obtained an 8-star evaluation. I estimate that the other 4 members of the Black Water Thunder Flood Dragon clan will all be able to obtain an 8-star evaluation. After Ling Xiao finished speaking softly, he turned to look at Yi Xian, saying, Yi Xian, how many stars do you have confidence in obtaining? 7 stars at the very least. Yi Xian replied. However, he was being modest. He felt that if he punched out with his full power, he would at least obtain an 8-star evaluation. If he used the Beast King's Rampage, 9 stars would be no problem at all. However, there were no rewards for this test, so there was no need for him to reveal his true strength. Using the Beast King's Rampage required a large number of corpses, and it would only increase his strength after using it. For someone like him who possessed the strength of all mammoths, the Beast King's Rampage was eliminated. Thus, there was no need for him to collect the corpses of heaven-reaching beasts, nor was there a need for him to use it. That's right. You just broke through to the Nether Passage stage. If you cultivate for a while longer, 7.5 stars won't be a problem. Ling Xiao didn't think much of it. He just nodded and continued to watch the test. Next was the Su family's Su Liang. He also obtained a 9-star evaluation, the same as Gu Han. Finally, it was the turn of Group 7's Yi Xian. Under the middle-aged Elder Zhang's command, the 15 people of Group 7 all jumped onto the ring. There was another disciple of the Black Water Thunder Flood Dragon clan in the same group as Yi Xian, and he just happened to be in front of Yi Xian. Of the first 13 people, some passed the test, while others failed. Soon, it was the Black Water Thunder Flood Dragon youth in front of Yi Xian. Ha! This youth from the Black Water Thunder Flood Dragon clan struck the Frost Steel Stone tablet with all his strength. 4 inches 3, 8.5 stars. The middle-aged elder announced with some astonishment. 8.5 stars. This was the highest score amongst those at the second level of the Nether Passage stage, second only to Gu Han and Su Liang. Too frightening. He actually managed to hit 8.5 stars, second only to our Heavenly Thunder Hall's #1 genius. If this Jiao Lai reverted to his original form, he would at least reach 9 stars, right? Humph. This Jiao Lai is of the demon race and has lived for 100 years. How can he compare to that genius of our Heavenly Thunder Hall? That's right. While the demon race has a long lifespan, cultivation is difficult and requires time to settle down. Moreover, their reproductive abilities are poor. We humans are blessed by the heavens, and our cultivation speed is much faster than theirs. Chapter 1152. The test is over. Get out of the way. The middle-aged elder chased him away. What's with the arrogance? If I become a dragon, I'll definitely trample all the geniuses of your Ling clan. Jiao Lai said unhappily and retreated. Now, it was Yi Xian's turn. Because he was only at the first level of the ethereal opening realm, not many people paid attention to him. Everyone was talking among themselves. There's no reward for this test. I'll just give him 6 stars. Yi Xian didn't want to be too ostentatious, so he directly threw a punch. However, he regretted it when his fist entered the Frost Steel Stone tablet. Not good. Yi Xian's expression changed greatly. Because he wanted to hide his strength, he held back. This punch actually didn't hit 3 inches. It was only 2. 8 inches. 3 inches was the standard for 6 stars. If one didn't reach 6 stars, they would be eliminated. 8 inches Tao. The middle-aged elder felt it and said. However, before he could finish, Yi Xian suddenly attacked. What are you doing? The elder was furious. Everyone was only tested once, but Yi Xian dared to throw 2 punches. Was he ignoring him? Pang! Another punch appeared, and the crowd suddenly fell silent. This brat is in trouble. He actually ignored the rules. Does he think he can pass with 1 more punch? Elder Ling Chong is very old-fashioned. This brat ignored the rules. Even if he's a core disciple, he can't avoid a scolding. Sigh, I pity him. Some of the surrounding disciples revealed sympathetic expressions, while others revealed gloating expressions, as if they were waiting to watch a good show. Below the stage, Ling Xiao and Ling Yun's expressions changed greatly. They prepared to jump onto the stage. Trash will always be trash. Does he think he can get rid of trash by testing again? Zhao Lai had a disdainful expression as he muttered to himself. However, when he swept his gaze over the second fist imprint that Yi Xian had struck out, his expression instantly became unsightly. What? 4. 3 inches? 8.5 stars. Elder Ling Chong also noticed and raised his eyebrows. What the hell was going on? Yi Xian's first punch was 2.8 inches, which didn't even reach 6 stars. However, his second punch had actually reached 4.3 inches, reaching 8.5 stars. Elder, I'm sorry. My first punch was wrong. Yi Xian smiled guiltily. This, Elder Ling Chong froze. Was it possible for someone at the first level of the Nether Passage realm to get an 8.5-star evaluation? It must be known that the first person in the history of the Heavenly Thunder Hall to have achieved a 9-star evaluation at the ethereal opening stage. However, Yi Xian had actually set another record? Just now, Yi Xian had made a mistake and hurriedly followed up with a punch. Although he did not use Beast King Rampage for the second punch, he did use his full strength. 8.5 stars. Exactly the same as Zhao Lai from the previous test. However, Zhao Lai was a level higher than Yi Xian. He was at the second level of the Nether Passage realm. How is that possible? He must have cheated. Zhao Lai immediately felt that something was wrong. He immediately jumped out and pointed at Yi Xian's nose and shouted. He was a Blackwater Thunder Jiao, a demon. Demons were proficient in refining their bodies. While they had not returned to their true forms, they were still stronger than ordinary humans. After all, he had lived for 100 years. However now, Yi Xian, a human of around 25 years of age, whose cultivation was even lower than his, had actually given him the same evaluation. This was impossible. Not only did he not believe it, even the surrounding Heavenly Thunder Hall disciples were the same. Elder Ling Chong raised his brows, also rather doubtful as he said to Yi Xian, "Try punching again?" "Yes." Yi Xian wiped away his cold sweat, then punched viciously towards the frost steel stone tablet once more. 4 inches. 8-star evaluation. The middle-aged elder frowned. This time, Yi Xian's score actually fell. My apologies, Elder. I have only just broken through to the Nether Passage stage and have yet to get used to my strength. Thus, I accidentally used my true qi. Yi Xian hurriedly explained. With his reminder, the surrounding people also widened their eyes in realization. True qi, it must have been true qi. So that's how it is. Ling Chong nodded slightly. That earlier scene had been too sudden. Perhaps he had sensed wrongly, not sensing that Yi Xian had used his true qi. That was why he had given him an 8.5-star evaluation. However, this time, he had clearly sensed that Yi Xian had not used his true qi. Thus, this 4-star evaluation was valid. Like I said, how could he possibly surpass me? Beside him, Zhao Lai snorted coldly. Elder Ling Chong glanced at him saying, "All right, you tested it one more time. Originally, it would not have counted, but seeing that your results are not bad, this matter will be dropped." Even a Ling family disciple at the first level of the Nether Passage stage would only be 7.5 stars at most. For Yi Xian to actually be able to achieve 8 stars, this was still a new record. Many thanks, Elder. Yi Xian cupped his fists in gratitude, heaving a sigh of relief inwardly before walking off the stage. Yi Xian, you really are something, actually the same as me. Seeing Yi Xian come down, Ling Xiao could not help but remark. As a Ling family disciple at the second level of the Nether Passage stage, he was only given an 8-star evaluation. Meanwhile, Yi Xian had only just entered the Heavenly Thunder Hall as a core disciple and was only at the first level of the Nether Passage stage. Yet, he had been given an 8-star evaluation, much more impressive than him. However, at this moment, in a corner of the assessment arena, "Father, what's wrong?" that middle-aged man asked, puzzled. "Do you recognize that kid?" The white-haired old man asked. "He doesn't seem to be a disciple of our Ling family, but he seems to be friends with Ling Xiao." The middle-aged man shot him a glance, then shook his head. "Based on my spiritual sense, I can see that he did not use his true qi just now. That 4 inches 3 is real, the white-haired old man murmured. What real? The middle-aged man was very surprised. A first-level nether passage expert with an 8.5-star evaluation. There was not a single person in the entire Ling family who could do so. He probably doesn't want to provoke the Blackwater Thunder Wyrm clan, thus concealing his strength. This kid is a talent that can be molded. Go investigate his background. If he is clean, we can nurture him. The white-haired old man instructed. Yes. The assessment continued. Originally, everyone had thought that another monster had appeared in the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Not having thought that he had just accidentally used his true qi, they did not take it to heart. Achieving 8 stars in the physique assessment was nothing much. After all, it was just a test. The third round was actual combat. With Yi Xian's cultivation at the first level of the Nether Passage stage, he probably would not be able to enter the top 30. The 4 from the Blackwater Thunder Wyrm clan had all completed their assessments, of which Zhao Lai had an 8.5-star evaluation, while the other 3 were all 8 stars. As for that Zhao Chong at the third level of the Nether Passage stage, he was in the 10th group, the last group. Finally, the physique assessment was nearing its end. That Blackwater Thunder Wyrm clan's Zhao Chong also finally ascended the arena. Everyone opened their eyes wide, wanting to see exactly how capable this #1 genius of the Blackwater Thunder Wyrm clan's younger generation was. How many stars could a third level of the Nether Passage stage achieve? Very quickly, it was Zhao Chong's turn. Begin the assessment. Chapter 1153. Let's begin the test. Elder Ling Chong also focused his attention to see how capable this Zhao Chong was, and whether he was hiding his true strength. After all, he was a member of the Ling family, and the Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon clan was about to threaten the Ling family. Thus, he wanted to see if the #1 genius of the Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon clan surpassed the #1 genius of the Ling family, or was he slightly inferior? This Zhao Chong didn't say anything else, and directly punched out. Pang! A fist imprint was left on the frost steel stone tablet. 4 inches, 9.5 stars evaluation. A light flashed through Elder Ling Chong's eyes. Just a bit more, and it would be 10 stars. This was indeed a bit different from the #1 genius of the Ling family. After all, the #1 genius of the Ling family, Ling Zhantian, had scored 5.1 inches when he was at the third level of the Nether Passage realm, surpassing 10 stars. But don't forget, Zhao Chong was only in his human form, and hadn't returned to his original form. This Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon clan is indeed a big threat. The surrounding Ling family experts' eyes all flashed as they thought to themselves. The group of Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon clan experts below also sighed in their hearts. This brat has already lived for 100 years, and still doesn't know how to endure. If we become a thorn in the side of the Ling family, we will definitely be the first to be eliminated or suppressed. The leading demon race expert was very annoyed, but this Zhao Chong was the son of the Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon clan's head, and he didn't dare to reprimand him. Good. Let the test continue. Elder Ling Chong shouted. Soon, the physique test was over. Of the 150 people, only 70 passed. Next was the soul strength test. This soul strength test was rather simple, and could be completed in one go. Everyone jumped onto the stage, and then stood in a circle. Even those who didn't pass the physique test could. After all, it was only a test. Of course, the actual combat test required both physique and soul strength to pass. Then, Ling Chong took out a large golden bell from his yin and yang ring. This is our Heavenly Thunder Hall's soul toll bell? Definitely not. This is only a replica. Even if it is a replica, it is still a very powerful artifact. It is said that it can directly attack one's soul. The soul strength test requires one to withstand 12 rings. Some of the surrounding disciples recognized the golden bell. At this time, Elder Ling Chong said, "Everyone stand properly. Next will be the soul strength test. I will ring the bell every 3 breaths, and every time you survive 1 ring, you will gain half a star. Only those who can survive 12 rings will pass the test. In addition, you are not allowed to use true qi or wanxiang force to resist this test." The surrounding testers nodded, indicating that they understood. Yi Xian blended into the crowd and stood quietly. He did not know how long his soul could last. All right, let the test begin. Elder Ling Chong looked around and then smashed his fist on the soul chime bell. Bas! The sound of a bell rang out. Although it sounded ordinary, the sound of the bell was soul-stirring. If a person at the first level of the manifestation realm heard this bell, their soul would probably be immediately shattered and they would become an ownerless shell. Fortunately, this arena was big enough. Those who had not been tested were very far away, so it would not affect them. The first bell sound was only a half-star evaluation, and only 6 stars were considered to have passed. Therefore, the surrounding people did not show any signs of discomfort. Bas! After 3 breaths, Elder Ling Chong punched again, and the sound of the bell resounded once more. The second ring. Bas! The third ring. These were all just appetizers. However, when the bell sounded for the 10th time, some people began to feel dizzy. Without true qi or Wanxiang force, these bell sounds directly attacked their souls, and some people had already begun to sway. Bas! When the bell sounded for the 11th time, some people's eyes rolled back as they fell backwards. Seeing this, Heavenly Thunder Hall experts immediately rushed in from outside the arena, carrying the fallen people away. If these fallen people continued to stay on the arena, their souls would be heavily injured, or even extinguished. After a Heavenly Thunder Hall disciple who was carried away was brought out, he also slowly recovered. He looked around and sighed helplessly. He did not survive the 11th ring, so it was still a 5-star evaluation. Only by surviving the 11th ring would he receive a 5.5-star evaluation. It looked like he had to focus on cultivating his soul. Bas! When the bell sounded for the 12th time, quite a few more people fell. As long as they could survive this bell, they would be considered to have passed the soul trial. Of those participating in the trial, some focused on the cultivation of the physique while some focused on the cultivation of the soul. Of course, those who cultivated the soul were still in the majority. After all, the soul was linked to Wanxiang force. Therefore, the number of people who survived this round was actually much more than those who passed the physique test. However, what followed next was people falling in droves. Bas! When the bell sounded for the 13th time, yet another 10-odd people's eyes rolled back as they fell onto the arena. Currently, there were still over 50 people standing, virtually all of them at the second level of the Nether Passage stage, with a few at the first level still holding on, their figures swaying. Not bad. There are actually still a few at the first level of the Nether Passage stage. Elder Ling Chong was rather surprised. Actually, those at the first level of the Nether Passage stage who could survive 10 bell chimes would already be considered exceptional amongst those at the same level. However, as this was a test for entering the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land, the requirements were naturally higher. 1 breath. 2 breaths. After 2 breaths of the 13th bell chime, yet another person fell onto the arena. Immediately, Ling Chong used the power of Wanxiang to directly fling this person out of the arena. The trial continued. Bas! The 14th bell chime sounded. As long as one could last past 3 breaths, they would be assessed with 7 stars. The people outside were all guessing inwardly. How many first-level Nether Passage stage examinees would be able to achieve such an assessment? A breath passed. Thump! Someone fell. 1. 2 breaths passed, and 2 of them fell. On the 3rd breath, all of the first-level Nether Passage stage examinees had fallen. No, there was still one more. The hell, that person is still not falling. Wasn't he the one who obtained an 8-star assessment in the physique test just now while at the first level of the Nether Passage stage? So strong, both his physique and soul being so strong. His battle prowess definitely isn't weak, right? The person the surrounding Heavenly Thunder Hall disciples were discussing was precisely Yi Xian. A mere 14 chimes of the soul bell were still nothing to Yi Xian. Up till now, he didn't seem to have any problems at all. Bas! As the 15th bell chime sounded, Yi Xian still persisted. Chapter 1154. Thump! In just 2 breaths' time, another few Heavenly Thunder Hall core disciples of the second level of the Nether Passage stage had fallen. That person is so strong. Even those at the second level of the Nether Passage stage have already fallen, but he is still standing there. The strength of his soul comparable to the second level of the Nether Passage stage. His physique also reaching 8 stars. How is it that I have never heard of this person before? I saw him together with senior apprentice brother Ling Xiao earlier. Could he have just joined recently? The surrounding people all began to speculate. A genius like Yi Xian should not be unknown. The 15th bell chime defeated 6 Heavenly Thunder Hall core disciples at the second level of the Nether Passage stage. 1. The 16th ring of the bell sounded. As long as he could hold on for 3 breaths' time, he would be able to attain an 8-star evaluation. It's about time. If it's too high, I'll be targeted a little. I'm only here to be tempered by the heavenly thunder. Yi Xian thought to himself. He was prepared to pretend to fall down in the second breath of time. However, just at this time, everyone listen up. All disciples who reach an 8-star evaluation will be rewarded with 3,000 inner devil pills, 3,000 for each higher evaluation, and so on. Suddenly, a foreign voice entered everyone's ears. Hearing this, everyone looked towards the source of the voice, discovering that the speaker was a gray-clothed middle-aged man. Perhaps some might not recognize him, but it was impossible for Ling Chong and the other higher echelons of the Heavenly Thunder Hall to not recognize him. Greetings, Hall Lord. Everyone shouted in unison. The one who had issued this reward was the current Hall Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Ling Xinglong. What? An 8-star evaluation reward of 3,000 inner devil pills. Hearing these words, whether it was those present or those outside, their eyes all lit up. It was the same for Yi Xian. The hell? Wasn't there supposed to be no reward? Rather perplexed, Yi Xian quickly pondered for a moment. 3,000 inner devil pills was not a small sum to him, but to others, it was even more of a huge fortune. This 16th ring of the bell, should he hold or not? TCH, a bastard who doesn't earn money when there's money to be earned. Let's go all out. Yi Xian immediately made his decision. Hold. After 3 breaths of time, there were only a dozen people left on the arena. These dozen or so people had all reached an 8-star evaluation. Some of them were even able to hold on because they were stimulated by the heart demon pill. Otherwise, they would have already collapsed. Among them, only Yi Xian was at the first level of the Nether Passage realm. The rest were at least at the second level. How is this possible? This brat's soul strength has actually reached an 8-star evaluation? Holy shit! Could it be that the Palace Master's words have strengthened his mind and allowed him to hold on? Money really does make the world go round. This brat is really going all out for the heart demon pill. That's not right. Look, he seems to still have some energy left. Everyone's gazes were focused on Yi Xian. Indeed, Yi Xian still had some energy left after the 16th bell. Good boy, try the 17th bell. Ling Chong's eyes lit up. Then, he punched the soul-ringing bell. Bas! The 17th ring of the soul bell spread out slowly. Some of the people in the field immediately went limp after hearing the sound, unable to hold on. Thump! Thump! In just one breath, 3 people collapsed. In the second breath, another 3 people collapsed. At this moment, there were only 8 people left on the arena. In the third breath, there were only 6 people left on the arena. Jiao Chong, Gu Han, and Su Liang, the 3 geniuses at the third level of the Nether Passage realm, were still fine. Jiao Hang and Jiao Lai, the 2 disciples of the Blackwater Lightning Wyrm, were from the demon clan and had lived for 100 years, so their soul strength was also stronger than normal people. However, Yi Xian, who was at the first level of the Nether Passage realm, was actually able to hold on. It was practically a miracle. Inconceivable. Simply inconceivable. However, Yi Xian was actually already at the end of his strength. The 17th bell was his limit. Even if he lay down now, he would still have an 8.5-star evaluation, which was a full 6,000 heart demon pills. If he could hold on for another bell, then he would have 9,000 heart demon pills, which was enough for him to break through to the second level of the Nether Passage realm. Impossible. Why is this brat still not lying down? Jiao Lai didn't dare to believe that there was still a first-level Nether Passage realm martial artist who hadn't collapsed, and he was also at the end of his strength. However, if he collapsed before Yi Xian, wouldn't he be laughed to death? Even if my body and soul are destroyed, I still won't fall before you. Jiao Lai gritted his teeth and prepared to continue. Elder Ling Chong looked around, and finally his gaze fell on Yi Xian. Pang! He didn't forget his duty, and punched the soul-tolling bell. Wang! The 18th sound of the bell rang out. Jiao Lai and Jiao Hung couldn't hold on any longer, and they fell limply to the ground. However, Yi Xian didn't fall. He just swayed there. Impossible. Jiao Lai didn't dare to believe that he had lost to a human. Moreover, This human's cultivation level was lower than his, and he was more than 70 years younger than him. At this moment, if he were awake, he would definitely bang his head against the wall. Everyone present held their breaths, waiting to see if Yi Xian would be able to survive this 18th bell. Terrifying, truly terrifying. The strength of Yi Xian's soul is actually even stronger than mine. If he can survive this bell, he will be evaluated as a 9-star. Outside, Ling Xiao said in shock. He had never thought that he would actually bring back such a monster to the Heavenly Thunder Hall this time. A mere first-level Nether Passage martial artist already having the strength of a third-level Nether Passage martial artist's soul. His battle prowess shouldn't be too weak as he would definitely be able to challenge those of a higher level. Elder Ling Chong's gaze fell on Yi Xian, saying, "This brat said to have just broken through to the Nether Passage stage, but his soul is already so powerful. If it were a normal first-level Nether Passage martial artist, they would definitely not be able to refine so many inner devil pills at all, instead falling into cultivation deviation. How exactly does this brat cultivate?" At this moment, Yi Xian had already survived past a breath's time, at the same time becoming the focal point of all gazes. Jiao Chong, Gu Han and Su Liang were also looking at Yi Xian. They especially hoped that Yi Xian would fall now so that they could regain some face. However, Yi Xian just did not fall. What the hell? If I had known earlier, I would have let Luo Luo use the Eye of Bewitchment. That way, I would have been able to last till the 19th bell, or even the 20th. What a pity! Yi Xian thought with his last remaining shred of consciousness. The 19th bell would be an evaluation of 9.5 stars, a total of 12,000 inner devil pills. At that time, not only would he be able to break through, Wei Zhenqian would also be able to improve greatly. Forget it, I'll just give up. Yi Xian tottered a few steps before suddenly stomping hard with his feet, his entire person leaping off the arena. Now it was 2 breaths time. The entire place was silent. Chapter 1155. However, Yi Xian still knew his limits. After the soul chime bell rang, there would be unceasingly echoing sounds attacking his soul. He definitely would not be able to last until the 19th chime. After distancing himself from the soul chime bell, his soul stabilized, no longer suffering from the attacks as it began to recover. Compared to the others, he had a very good image. At the very least, he had not collapsed, instead remaining standing. Huff huff, still not able to last. Only 8.5 stars, but the reward of 6,000 inner devil pills is still there. Not bad, not bad. Yi Xian wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, looking completely exhausted as he tottered on the brink of collapse. It had to be said that this soul chime bell was very powerful, because Elder Ling Chong had only used an ordinary attack. If Elder Ling Chong had used his true qi and the power of all manifestations, the soul chime bell might have been able to instantly disperse the souls of several thousand people. Wah, Yi Xian, you're really too awesome. You're my idol. Ling Yun shot over to Yi Xian's side with a look of adoration on her face, supporting him. Ling Xiao swiftly approached as well. Yi Xian, who would have thought that you had hidden your strength so well? Whether it was in terms of physique or soul strength, you have already surpassed mine. Did you really just break through to the ethereal opening stage? Cough. Yi Xian smiled awkwardly. Weren't you two present when I broke through as well? When he had broken through that day, Ling Xiao and Ling Yun had been in the midst of detoxifying him. It had only been 5 days since then. Now, Ling Xiong could be sure that Ling Xiao had not been lying that day. Yi Xian's strength was indeed on par with Ling Xiao's. Yi Xian is only at the first level of the ethereal opening stage, but his overall results are in the top 10. Then, he might be able to take one of the slots for the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds this time, Ling Xiong said to Yi Xian. Yi Xian nodded silently before looking towards the Heavenly Thunder Hall Lord. Currently, he was still thinking about those 6,000 inner devil pills. As long as he specially devoured these 6,000 inner devil pills, his strength would be able to increase greatly once more, taking one of the slots not a problem at all. If this kid's foundation is clean, he will definitely become a great battle force of our Heavenly Thunder Hall in the future. The Heavenly Thunder Hall's Hall Lord Ling Xinglong thought to himself. At the same time, noticing Yi Xian's gaze, he smiled. The soul strength test is complete. Everyone, rest for an hour. An hour later, we will begin the actual combat test to vie for a slot. Also, this is your reward. Without another word, Ling Xinglong began to distribute the Heart Devil pills, and then threw them to the core disciples whose soul strength had reached 8 stars. "They're here!" Yi Xian's eyes lit up when he saw the pouch flying towards him. Inside the pouch were 6,000 devil's heart pills. At this time, he had already recovered a little and had no problem moving around. He caught the pouch and swallowed all 6,000 inner demon pills in one go. The strength of his true energy, his physique, and the strength of his soul all soared in an instant. If he had another 2,000 or 3,000 inner demon pills, he would probably be able to break through to the second level of the Nether Passage realm. Before the Heavenly Thunder Hall's Hall Lord Ling Xinglong had spoken, the soul strength test on the stage had already ended. Jiao Chong, Gu Han and Su Liang, the 3 geniuses at the 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm, had all received 9 stars, slightly better than Yi Xian, receiving 9,000 devil's heart pills. At this time, Yi Xian was thinking that it would be great if they could snatch things in the upcoming actual combat test. Sadly, this was only a test, and probably would not allow it. What came next was time for everyone to rest, allowing their souls to recover. Otherwise, they would not be able to deal with the upcoming actual combat test. After 2 rounds of tests, there were over 60 people whose physique and soul strength had both reached 6 stars. Of these 60-odd people, only 10 could enter the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land and be tempered by Heavenly Thunder. Yi Xian's physique was 8 stars, and his soul strength was 8.5 stars. However, this was merely a test. It was unknown whether the top 10 of the actual combat test would be rewarded. Thinking of this, Yi Xian could not help but look at the Deputy Hall Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. In the past, there had virtually never been any rewards in the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land entry test. For there to actually be one this year, there must definitely be something that had attracted the Deputy Hall Lord's attention. Could it be me? Yi Xian's eyes narrowed. Thinking of it this way, it really was possible. Since that was the case, he would just amaze the world with a single brilliant feat in this actual combat. Very quickly, an hour passed. After this hour of recovery, the competitors had virtually all recovered to their peak condition. That had only been a test earlier, so their souls had recovered quickly. If their souls had been heavily injured, it would not have been so easy to recover. Yi Xian and the other 76 began drawing lots once more. Yi Xian drew number 25, which was a good number, matching his age. Of the 76 people, only 38 remained after the first round of 2-on-1 battles. Then, in 2-on-2 battles, there would be 19 people left. Finally, one person would get a bye, leaving 9 people. That would make a total of 10. Simply put, other than that person who got a bye in the 3rd round, everyone would have to fight 3 battles. That Jiao Chong is number 66, Gu Han is number 73, Su Liang is number 27. Yi Xian secretly noted down the numbers of these 3, because only these 3 geniuses at the 3rd level of the ethereal opening stage could pose a threat to him. As for the others, they were all at the 1st and 2nd level of the ethereal opening stage, not much to him at all. Because there were a little too many people, the first round of battles was held in the side arenas. At the center of the arena, Elder Ling Chong's eyes flashed, and the next moment, the entire arena changed. Crack! The massive arena suddenly descended, merging with the floor. At the same time, 38 smaller arenas rose up around it. The hell, is this a lift? Yi Xian was shocked, not having thought that this arena would actually be so high-tech. However, he quickly reacted. This arena should be some sort of mechanism that could be activated with the power of all forms. Even he could do it. Yi Xian, your opponent is number 23, Gu Xian. Now, Ling Xiao suddenly said. Gu Xian. Then he's from the Gu clan. Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. He had some recollection of this name, because this was the person who was in the same group as him in the first round, who was at the 1st level of the ethereal opening stage. It seemed that this first round would be an easy win. The order of battle has been announced. All candidates, enter the arena. Elder Ling Chong shouted from the air. Hearing this, Yi Xian and Gu Xian also jumped onto their designated arenas. This Gu Xian was at the 1st level of the ethereal opening stage, 2 years younger than Yi Xian, only 23. When he saw that his opponent was Yi Xian, his expression became extremely ugly. However, he was only 23 years old, and had only come this year to test his skills, so it didn't matter who his opponent was. Chapter 1156. How did the strength of your soul rise to such a level? Gu Xian could not help but ask. It was just a fortuitous encounter earlier. It would not be easy for one to cultivate to such a level normally, Yixian said humbly. I see. Then let us begin. Gu Xian brandished a sword. All right. Yixian nodded as well. The 38 arenas all began their respective battles. However, the outcome of Yixian's arena was decided in the blink of an eye. Eye of control. In just an instant, this Gu Xian was controlled by Yixian. Then, Yixian directly punched out. This punch was extremely ordinary, not using true qi or the power of all manifestations, just the wind of the fist. The wind of the fist struck Gu Xian's body, directly sending him flying. Thump! Gu Xian landed outside the arena. Defeated. What's going on? Why isn't that Gu Xian retaliating? That's too fake. Was he intentionally going easy on him? No, that's not right. That Yixian used illusions. Illusions? Right, this Gu Xian's soul has yet to recover, falling for illusions extremely easily. That's why he was defeated. While it was said that there were 38 arenas, most of the people's gazes were only focused on a few of them, Yixian being one of them. At the same time, there were also a few arenas where the outcome was instantly decided, namely Zhao Chong, Gu Han and Su Liang. This kid actually has a soul-type ability as well. Impressive. Spectating from the side, the Heavenly Thunderhall Lord narrowed his eyes. He too believed that Yixian had used illusions to bewitch Gu Xian before sending him flying out of the arena with a single punch. Then, his gaze swept across the arena, finally landing on that profound water thunder WRM's Zhao Hang and Gu Han. Noticing his gaze, Elder Ling Chong nodded slightly in understanding as well. The Heavenly Thunderhall Lord's intention was to have Zhao Hang and Gu Han battle in the next round. Zhao Hang was a genius of the Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon, and was at the second level of the Nether Passage realm. Although Gu Han was a human, he was at the third level of the Nether Passage realm, one level higher than Zhao Hang. When the two of them fought, Gu Han had a 90% chance of winning. This was because this Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land had a rule, and that was that the demonic beasts were not allowed to transform into their true forms. They had to fight in their human forms. If Gu Han won, then there would only be 4 Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragons left. At that time, one more person would be eliminated in the third round, and that would be 3 people. Out of the 10 spots, the Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon occupied 3. This was already a good number. If the Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon clan occupied 5 of them, then it would be half of them. This would definitely cause dissatisfaction among the other clans. Yixian, congratulations on your first victory. Ling Xiao smiled as he watched Yixian return. I didn't expect you to be able to use soul attacks as well. You've really hidden your strength well. Hee hee. Yixian grinned and said, I'm going to relieve myself. Since there were still over 20 rings that had yet to be completed, he wanted to make use of this chance to do something. Just now, he had already used the Eye of Control to control quite a few Heavenly Thunderhall core disciples at the first level of the Nether Passage stage. Sadly, not a single one of these core disciples had achieved an 8-star evaluation in the soul strength test, thus not being rewarded with those 3,000 inner devil pills. Still, when all their wealth was gathered together, it would still be considerable. Yixian ordered these people to make use of this time to leave the ring, before going through all of their spatial rings. Bloody hell, it's only around 2,000 inner devil pills in total. I'm still a little short. Yixian was very helpless. He had still been preparing to break through to the second level of the Nether Passage stage in order to give the Heavenly Thunderhall a pleasant surprise. Forget it, let's go back. Yixian continued issuing orders. Currently, he was already at the peak of the first level of the Nether Passage stage. With a few more heavenly treasures or inner devil pills, he would be able to break through to the second level of the Nether Passage stage. When he returned to the ring, he found that the battles had already ended, those who had won already beginning to recover. 10 minutes later, the second round of battles began. Yixian, your opponent for the second round is the Su family's Su Changdong, second level of the Nether Passage stage. Seeing Yixian return, Ling Xiao said. Second level of the Nether Passage stage, huh? Hearing this, Yixian's eyes flickered. Almost all of the first level of the Nether Passage stage participants had been eliminated in the first round, with very few making it into the second round. Therefore, it was inevitable that he would have to challenge someone of a higher level. This Su Changdong's strength is not bad. Still, he seems to have yet to learn the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd. Yi Xian, you don't have to worry, Ling Yun said. Yes. Yi Xian nodded. Actually, it didn't matter if he was strong or not. As long as he was at the second level of the Nether Passage stage, he had nothing to fear. A while later, the second round was about to begin. Elder Ling Chong activated the mechanism once more, instantly reducing the 38 rings to 19. Enter the ring. Following Elder Ling Chong's order, Yi Xian and Su Chengdong both leaped onto their designated rings. This Su Chengdong had been dissatisfied with Yi Xian from the start. With his cultivation at the second level of the Nether Passage stage, his physique was 8 stars, and his soul strength was also 8 stars. This was already the same as Ling Xiao. However, Yi Xian, a first-level Nether Passage stage martial artist, actually had the same physique as him and a soul strength of 8.5 stars. This made him very unhappy. Brat, the test of physique and soul strength doesn't mean anything. You can't beat me because of the difference in realms. If you know what's good for you, then go down yourself. Su Chengdong looked at Yi Xian with a face full of contempt. Facing an opponent one level higher than him, Yi Xian had a calm expression. When he heard Su Chengdong's words, he also subconsciously said, "Give me 100,000 inner demon pills, and I'll go down." 100,000 inner demon pills? Are you kidding me? Su Chengdong was furious. He knew that Yi Xian was obviously looking down on him, so he didn't say anything and directly attacked. Since you want to leave the ring so quickly, then I'll fulfill your wish. Yi Xian's eyes flashed, and his left hand abruptly turned into a claw. Left Azure Dragon stretching 8 powers. Forbidden Eye of Illusion. Burning Eye. Against someone of this level, Yi Xian didn't even need to use the Eye of Glory. Although more than an hour had passed since the start of the test, this Su Chengdong had endured until the 16th ring of the bell, so his soul hadn't recovered yet and was directly affected. However, as a second-level Nether Passage stage martial artist, even if he fell into an illusion, he could still use his spiritual sense to fight. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A fierce gust of wind swept up on the ring. Several true Qi heavenly dragons bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they pounced toward Su Chengdong. Heaven-destroying cross-slash. Relying on his spiritual sense, Su Chengdong aimed at these true Qi heavenly dragons and launched an attack. A cross-cut cut through the air and hit the true Qi heavenly dragon, but it was scattered by the claws of the true Qi heavenly dragon. How is this possible? Su Chengdong felt his attack being defeated and cried out in alarm. You really don't have good eyesight. This is a Nether Passage spirit art. Yi Xian snorted coldly and attacked again. Chapter 1157. Left Azure Dragon stretches its claws, 6th move of the 8 moves, 6 Dragon Circle. The 6 true Qi heavenly dragons pounced forward, but Su Chengdong managed to hold on for a while. However, when Yi Xian executed the 7th Claw Divine Dragon swings its tail, Su Chengdong, who had been trapped in an illusion, was sent flying out of the arena by the dragon's tail. Yi Xian. Victory. What a fellow. He actually succeeded in challenging someone of a higher level with just a low-grade ethereal passage divine ability. Elder Ling Chong's eyes lit up as he muttered. But it's not that simple. Even I couldn't see how he used that illusion technique of his. I'm guessing that it's also a ethereal opening divine ability. After Su Chengdong fell for it, he couldn't break out of the illusion. The Heavenly Thunder Hall's Lord Ling Xinglong said softly from the side. Even the Patriarch can't tell? Ling Chong was rather taken aback as he said, My Heavenly Thunder Hall does have a soul-type ethereal opening mystic ability, but it shouldn't be to this extent. This might be a mid-grade ethereal opening mystic ability. I'm not sure. However, Su Chengdong's soul hasn't recovered to its peak. That's why he fell. Ling Xinglong didn't care. After looking at the white-haired old man in the corner, he said in a low voice, Let this kid fight with Jiao Lai in the next round. Jiao Lai? Elder Ling Chong shuddered. Jiao Lai was ranked second among the 5 from the Black Water Lightning Flood Dragon clan. His strength was second only to Jiao Chong. This Jiao Lai could be considered strong. Even without transforming, he was still stronger than Su Chengdong. He could probably fight Ling Xiao, who was at the peak of the second level of the Nether Passage realm. Would Yi Xian be able to handle it? This is father's idea. He feels that this kid is not using his full strength. Let's give it a try. If he loses, we can always try again next year, Ling Xinglong said softly. Entering the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Land, 25 years old was the best. There wasn't much difference between 26 and 24 years old. However, when Xian was 26 years old, he might break through to the second level of the Nether Passage realm. At that time, he would be able to withstand even more heavenly lightning, and the effects would be even better than those at the first level. Understood. Elder Ling Chong nodded. On the other side, a few unlucky core disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Hall who encountered Zhao Chong's trio were quickly defeated, one of them being Zhao Hang. The second level of the Nether Passage realm Zhao Hang had encountered the third level of the Nether Passage realm Gu Han. This caused those of the Profound Water Thunder Wyrm clan to grit their teeth. They knew that this was the arrangement of the Heavenly Thunder Hall's lord, but they didn't dare to make a sound. Not long after, all the battles were over, and only 19 people remained. That kid actually won. Is he going to enter the top 10? So powerful. In the last match, he used the Ethereal Passage ability once, so his Zhen Qi consumption was not that great. If he were to encounter a weaker opponent, he might really be able to make it into the top 10. Tsk, let's see how lucky he is. Who knows, he might even get a bye. Very soon, the rest time was over. Elder Ling Chong had already selected one of the participants with a bye. 9 out of the remaining 18 would be chosen. It had to be said that this person's luck was extremely good, because he didn't need to fight anymore and directly obtained a spot. Rumble. The layout of the arena changed again. Only 9 of the 19 arenas remained. Next, Elder Ling Chong began announcing the order of the battles. Jiao Chong, Gu Han and Su Liang would each face a second level of the Nether Passage realm. As for Xian, he would actually face Zhao Lai of the Profound Water Thunder Wyrm clan. After the announcement of the order of the battles, the entire arena boiled over. It looked like Xian was going to be killed in the cradle, only able to enter the forbidden Heavenly Thundergrounds next year. Of course, there was also a small number of people who thought that Xian might be able to create a miracle, Ling Xiao and Ling Yun being one of them. Although even Ling Xiao didn't have complete confidence in defeating Zhao Lai in human form. So it's you, kid. Looks like your luck has come to an end. Gazing into the distance, Zhao Lai's gaze fell on Xian. However, he definitely wouldn't have thought that Xian actually had absolute confidence in his victory. This Zhao Lai has been at the second level of the Nether Passage realm in both battles, his Zhen Qi consumption being considerable. Also, he collapsed a breath before me just now, so his soul isn't at its peak. Finishing him off shouldn't be too hard. Xian thought to himself. At this moment, even if he were to face Zhao Chong, he would probably be able to defeat him, let alone Zhao Lai, who was at the second level of the Nether Passage realm. Enter the arena. Elder Ling Chong shouted at this moment. 18 candidates leaped onto the arena. Kid, just admit defeat. If you let me attack, you'll definitely lose a few parts of your body, Zhao Lai said to Xian with a haughty attitude. Killing was not allowed in this competition, as long as it didn't harm one's life. As for losing an arm or a leg, it was still a common occurrence. Then you can come and try. The corner of Xian's mouth curled up slightly, his eyes gleaming. All right, since you want to die, I'll naturally fulfill your wish. Zhao Lai shouted, directly charging at Xian with his bare hands. A mere second level of the Nether Passage realm dares to yell in front of me? You're courting death. Xian's left hand immediately formed a claw and reached out. Left Azure Dragon stretching 8 powers. At the same time, he also used the Eye of Illusion and Burning Eye on Zhao Lai. Zhao Lai's soul had not recovered, but he had lived for 100 years. Under the suppression of his realm, the effect was not as good as the previous candidate. Using a claw art in front of me? You're looking down on me. Zhao Lai was furious, his hands grabbing at the air. Whoosh whoosh. 2 black claw shadows, one from the left and one from the right, grabbed the True Qi Heavenly Dragon and exploded it in an instant. Zhao Lai was a Blackwater Lightning Wyrm, born with a unique understanding of claw arts. Xian actually used a claw art in front of him, provoking him. Looks like I won't be able to kill you if I don't show some ability. Xian's eyes widened. Wearing the brilliant golden armor, his entire aura changed. Left Azure Dragon stretching 8 powers. His left hand quickly waved, and golden heavenly dragons appeared one after another, pouncing toward Zhao Lai. At the same time, Wei Zhentian had somehow circled behind Zhao Lai. Rolling Thunder Armor. Zhao Lai felt that Yi Xian's techniques were a little complicated, so he had to make sure his defense was strong enough. As his true qi and all creation strength surged out, Zhao Lai's body was covered by a layer of thunder and lightning. Wei Zhentian had just pierced in when he was electrocuted and cracked. Now, Wei Zhentian was only at the first tier of the ethereal opening realm, but this rolling thunder armor was ethereal opening divine ability. However, the moment Wei Zhentian shattered, it turned into countless sharp blades and stabbed toward Zhao Lai. Although it could not hurt Zhao Lai, it could consume the true qi and all creation strength on the rolling thunder armor. Kid, I want your hands. Zhao Lai did not care at all. He reached out with both hands, and 2 black claws appeared, ready to tear off Yi Xian's hands. But at this moment, is that so? Chapter 1158. ZZ. Thunder Rumbling Armor. What? That's impossible. Zhao Lai was greatly shocked. The Thunder Rumbling Armor was their profound Water Thunder Flood Dragon clan's ability. Why did this Yi Xian know it as well? What's impossible about it? I know this move too. Yi Xian smiled once more, executing the left Azure Dragon stretches out 8 stances with his left hand while his right hand executed the heaven-ripping hand that Zhao Lai had just used. Bang! On the arena, waves of qi roiled. Yi Xian and Zhao Lai clashed, unable to determine the victor. Impossible. How could he know the thunder-rumbling armor and the heaven-ripping hand? Below the arena, the profound Water Thunder Flood Dragon clan experts were all shocked. Not just them, even the Heavenly Thunder Hall Lord and the others were the same. The most bewildered of all were Ling Xiao, Ling Yun and Ling Xiong. They knew that Yi Xian had only just joined the Heavenly Thunder Hall. How could he know the profound Water Thunder Flood Dragon clan's ability? Brat, you actually dare to secretly learn the abilities of my profound Water Thunder Flood Dragon. Go die. Zhao Lai no longer cared as he directly attacked. However, having learnt these 2 abilities, Yi Xian was already in an invincible position. Having fought 2 battles earlier, Zhao Lai's soul had yet to recover to its peak. To Yi Xian, he would have been able to finish him off within 3 seconds. Now, only a single second had passed. Left Azure Dragon stretches out 8 stances. Yi Xian calmly began summoning the Golden Heavenly Dragon. Both the left Azure Dragon stretches out 8 stances and the Heaven Ripping Claw were low-grade nether passage abilities. The first 4 stances would be weaker than the Heaven Ripping Claw, but at the 6th stance, its power would double that of the Heaven Ripping Claw. Without a leader at the end, it would be at least twice as powerful as the Heaven Ripping Claw. Yi Xian had only used the Heaven Ripping Claw to stall for time, that was all. Left Azure Dragon stretches out 8 stances, 6th stance, 6 dragons revolve. Finally, this move was executed by Yi Xian to its 6th stance. Now, the 6 heavenly dragons on the arena already surpassed the Heaven Ripping Claw in power. Not only that, but Zhao Lai's forehead was also covered in cold sweat. This was because he was constantly being tortured by the burning eye. No, impossible. It's impossible that I can't even take care of a first-level Nether Passage Realm martial artist. I don't believe it. Zhao Lai roared and began to madly use Heaven-Tearing Claw. However, Yi Xian easily blocked all of them. Zhua Qinglong stretches its claws, 7th move of the 8 moves, Divine Dragon swings its tail. A golden sky dragon turned its body and whipped its tail toward Zhao Lai. The power of this move was more than twice as strong as the Heaven-Tearing Claw. Zhao Lai could not block it at all and was directly blasted flying out backward. However, he didn't fly out of the arena. He relied on the thunder armor to hold on. You do have some ability. Try this move again. Yi Xian's eyes flickered, and his left hand reached out again. Zhua Qinglong stretches its claws, 8th move of the 8 moves, Leaderless Dragons. This time, 8 golden sky dragons attacked together. At the same time, they were assisted by the Heaven-Tearing Claw and Megatron. Although Zhao Lai was very unwilling, he really did not have the ability to block this move again. With a bang, he was blasted out of the arena. The clothes on his body were already torn to pieces, almost blinding the eyes of the people around him. Zhao Lai defeated. The entire arena was silent. Yi Xian defeating Su Changdong was one thing, but now he had even defeated Zhao Lai of the Blackwater Thunder Wyrm family. His strength was a little terrifying. Look, his feet haven't moved at all. Damn, it's true. He stood in the same spot and defeated Jiao Lai? This brat can't be a reincarnator, right? Otherwise, how can he be so strong? The surrounding people exclaimed in shock. Yi Xian's strength was indeed so strong that it was suspicious, but it was not at the level of a reincarnator. Reincarnators were not simple people. Take Mo Shui for example. Mo Shui was only at the 7th level of the manifestation realm, but he was able to kill a Nether Passage realm martial artist. This was 3 levels higher than him. Also, due to his low cultivation level, he was unable to use many things. For Yi Xian to be able to beat him into a retreat was already an extremely good battle result. This brat indeed hides his strength deeply. Also, he still has strength to spare. His true battle prowess is probably at the 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm. The Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Ling Xinglong, thought to himself. Right now, Yi Xian had already passed 3 rounds. Amongst the 10 spots, he had a seat. Impossible. That Jiao Lai who had been blasted out of the arena by Yi Xian crawled up from the ground, pointing at Yi Xian in disbelief. Yi Xian glanced at him, revealing an extremely disdainful look on his face. Defeat was not a true defeat. It was only those who did not admit it that were true defeats. He would not spare such a person a second glance. Big brother, take revenge for me. Jiao Lai's voice suddenly resounded from behind him, closely followed by the howling of the wind. What? Within the range of Yi Xian's eye of perception, someone had acted against him. This position belonged to that Jiao Chong. Stop. Those of the profound water thunder Wyrm clan hurriedly roared. What a joke. With the Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall present, Jiao Chong actually dared to injure him. This was not arrogance, but stupidity. However, Jiao Chong had acted too quickly such that even Elder Ling Chong was unable to react in time. The Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall reacted. With his strength, he could receive this blow of Jiao Chong's. However, he did not, because he wanted to see Yi Xian's true strength. At this moment, Yi Xian did not even turn as he directly condensed his true qi and the power of all manifestations. Heaven-shocking armor. Glorious golden armor. Thunder-rumbling armor. With 3 great defenses on him, Yi Xian would not be killed so easily. Bang! That punch of Jiao Chong's landed directly on Yi Xian's back, directly dispersing the thunder-rumbling armor as well as shattering the armor that Wei Zhentian had transformed into. However, by the time it landed on the glorious golden armor, there was already not much force behind it as it only sent Yi Xian flying a little. Papa! Yi Xian stabilized himself before pretending to spurt out a mouthful of blood, abruptly turning and glaring furiously at Jiao Chong. Why did you launch a sneak attack on me? Yi Xian roared furiously. This scene was so sudden that everyone present was dazed. This Blackwater Thunder Wyrm clan was actually arrogant to such an extent, launching a sneak attack on a core disciple of the Heavenly Thunder Hall right in front of the Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Most importantly, the sneak attack of the 3rd level of the Nether Passage stage Jiao Chong had actually been blocked by the 1st level of the Nether Passage stage Yi Xian. This is impossible. Jiao Lai had originally thought that Yi Xian was dead for sure, but now seeing that not only was Yi Xian not dead, he was even able to turn around and angrily rebuke Jiao Chong. This Jiao Lai was already completely speechless. The experts of the Blackwater Thunder Wyrm clan were stunned for a moment before they hurriedly shot towards Jiao Chong. Even if Jiao Chong continued attacking now, they would be able to block him. However, that earlier strike could not be taken as having never happened. He does indeed have some ability. The Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall Ling Xinglong thought to himself before glaring furiously at Jiao Chong. Who gave you the guts to actually launch a sneak attack right in front of me? Please forgive me, Lord. Please forgive me. Seeing his younger brother injured, Jiao Chong unconsciously acted. Chapter 1159. Subconscious? If not for Yi Xian having some ability, wouldn't he have died under that blow? Ling Xinglong glared furiously at this gray-clothed old man. The gray-clothed old man was rendered speechless by these words. He could tell that Jiao Chong had wanted to kill Yi Xian earlier. If Yi Xian did not have some ability, he might already have been killed. There were quite a few experts present, and they could all tell. What should they do now? I will take responsibility for my own actions. Now, Jiao Chong suddenly roared. These words frightened the gray-clothed old man as he hurriedly rolled his eyes, roaring furiously in a low voice. Shut up! This Jiao Chong was someone painstakingly nurtured by the Black Water Thunder Flood Dragon, and was also the son of the Black Water Thunder Flood Dragon family's head. Now that he had launched a sneak attack on Yi Xian, if the Heavenly Thunder Hall's Hall Lord was enraged and forbade Jiao Chong from entering the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds, that would be a huge loss. Currently, the gray-clothed old man was cursing Jiao Chong furiously within his heart as well. Already 100 years old, still so unruly. Is your Heavenly Thunder Hall the Jiao family? Good, you will take responsibility for your own actions. You have guts. The Heavenly Thunder Hall's Hall Lord Ling Xinglong's eyes lit up. This way, he would have a reason to punish this Jiao Chong. But just at this moment. Hall Lord, this is the fault of our Black Water Thunder Flood Dragon family. Please show mercy. We are willing to compensate, the gray-clothed old man hurriedly said. Compensate? Do you think? Before the Heavenly Thunder Hall's Hall Lord Ling Xinglong had finished speaking, another voice resounded. Fine, compensate. This voice entered everyone's ears. As they looked towards the source of the voice, they discovered that it was Yi Xian who had spoken. Right, we are willing to compensate. Little brother, we were in the wrong in this matter. How much do you want? Seeing that the situation had taken a turn for the better, the gray-clothed old man hurriedly said. 2,000 inner demon pills. Yi Xian directly said. He had only spat out a bit of blood, and that was just an act. Now that his internal injuries had already recovered, 2,000 inner demon pills should be enough. However, him stepping forward caused the Heavenly Thunder Hall's Hall Lord Ling Xinglong to be a little puzzled. This brat is really a money grubber. Now that I'm here to uphold justice for him, he's actually scared? Ling Xinglong raised his eyebrows. He thought that Yi Xian didn't want to provoke the Xianxia Lightning Jiao family, so he chose to compromise. However, he didn't know that Yi Xian deliberately didn't fight back because of this compensation. 2,000 inner demon pills were enough for Yi Xian to break through to the second level of the Nether Passage realm. As long as he broke through to the second level of the Nether Passage realm, the benefits at that time would not be as simple as 2,000 inner demon pills. Is this kid stupid? He actually chose to compromise? Now that the Hall Master is clearly standing up for him, he is actually terrified. I really don't understand. That's right. The surrounding people were confused. 2,000 inner demon pills. When the gray-robed old man heard this number, he muttered to himself and immediately revealed a smile. 2,000 inner demon pills were nothing to him. As long as he could protect Jiao Chong, even 5,000 or 10,000 inner demon pills would be worth it. Immediately, the gray-robed old man took out 2,000 inner demon pills before tossing them to Yi Xian. As Yi Xian caught the inner demon pills, light shot out from his eyes. As long as he broke through to the second level of the Nether Passage realm, he would be able to crush this Jiao Chong to death with a single hand. 2,000 inner demon pills have already been given to you. This matter can be considered settled. The gray-robed old man emphasized as he glanced at the Heavenly Thunder Hall Master. All right, let's leave it at that. Yi Xian smiled slightly. His objective had been achieved. However, at this time, the Heavenly Thunder Hall Master Ling Xinglong suddenly spoke. Jiao Chong's death sentence can be spared, but he cannot escape punishment. I had originally wanted to restrict Jiao Chong from entering the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds. Now, your Xianxia Lightning Jiao family should eliminate one of your people. When Jiao Chong had ambushed Yi Xian, the other two had also obtained victory, so the Xianxia Lightning Jiao had obtained 3 spots. Now, one had to be eliminated. The gray-robed old man was rather troubled. He understood that this was Ling Xinglong's fury. He had no choice but to comply. Fortunately, it was only eliminating one person. He had the final say. At most, he could just come back next year. All right, Jiao Yu. Come back next year. The gray-robed old man's gaze finally landed on one person. Yes. This Xianxia Lightning Jiao youth called Jiao Yu nodded. He knew that he had become Jiao Chong's scapegoat. However, Jiao Chong was the young master of the Xianxia Lightning Jiao family. When he returned, he would still be compensated. It was only a year's time. He could afford to wait. Now, there were only 2 spots left for the Xianxia Lightning Jiao. Since that is so, let's leave it at that. Just this once. Ling Xinglong snorted coldly. Originally, he had wanted to forbid Jiao Chong from entering the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds. However, thinking that if Jiao Chong were to be restricted, the Xianxia Lightning Jiao family would definitely come to make trouble, he decided to leave it at that. However, he had caught sight of the crafty expression on Yi Xian's face after obtaining those 2,000 inner demon pills. This kid is definitely not someone who is afraid of trouble. Ling Xinglong thought to himself. However, all in all, this matter could be considered to have come to an end. That Jiao Lai did not expect things to escalate to this point. He was a little regretful that he had almost ruined Jiao Chong's future. If this matter really got out of hand, he would definitely be whipped to death. Jiao Chong was carefully nurtured by the Xianxia Lightning Jiao family. After entering the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds and enduring the attacks of the Heavenly Lightning, he might be able to transform from a Xianxia Lightning Jiao into a dragon. At that time, Jiao Chong could be considered to have soared into the sky. Alright, the 9 spots for the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds have been chosen. Everyone can disperse. Tomorrow, you will enter the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds with my Ling family's team. Seeing that the examination had ended, Ling Xinglong loudly announced. Soon, the people in the examination arena left one after another. Yi Xian, you are too awesome. You actually blocked Jiao Chong's attack. After entering the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds, your body and soul will receive the baptism of the Heavenly Lightning. I estimate that you will break through to the 2nd level of the Nether Passage realm very soon. Ling Xiao immediately went up and said in shock. Hearing this, Yi Xian bitterly smiled in his heart. Without the baptism of the Heavenly Lightning, he could immediately break through to the 2nd level of the Nether Passage realm. However, with so many experts around, if he suddenly broke through, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. Thus, he felt that it was better to go back first. In any case, he had already obtained what he wanted, so he could break through whenever he wanted. However, after he left, Jiao Chong and Jiao Lai also looked at his back with resentment. Big brother, how could this kid be so strong? Jiao Lai said unwillingly. This kid's sword is a good thing. Jiao Chong muttered. He felt that it was Yi Xian's sky-shaking sword that could transform into tens of thousands of forms that protected Yi Xian. Otherwise, just relying on the thunder armor and brilliant golden armor would not have been able to block that punch of his. Big brother, are we just going to let this matter go like this? I am unwilling. I should have entered the Heavenly Thunder Forbidden Grounds this year.